Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting edition of Primo Nutmeg. On the show today, I have three legends of Seatown. I have Nick. Hey Nick.
How you doing?
The Robbo, the host of the Robbo cast.
Hey everybody.
And making his 15th appearance on Primo Nutmeg.
All right.
Jack.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Now guys, I've assembled you here tonight because not only is this our 60th episode of Primo Nutmeg, but it is also the last one of 2016, and I wanted to get together and just go over the year, from the beginning to the end, go over a lot of different subjects, and maybe bring our different perspectives to see things in new ways. I thought it would be pretty exciting. And, I've seen a lot of people kind of discussing the year as a whole lately, and it's because of the celebrity deaths that we have had. Mm-hmm. We just had another one, so...
Yeah.
I thought, just to start this off, we could take a minute and remember just some of the people who we've lost. I made quite an extensive list today.
Yeah.
And I had to cut a bunch of people off of it because I was trying to keep it down to one page.
Wow.
Because this is how many famous people we've lost this year. So let me just quickly run through an abbreviated list of the celebrities who we have lost in 2016. David Bowie, Alan Rickman, Glenn Frey of the Eagles, Abe Vigoda, Paul Kantner from Jefferson Airplane, Maurice White from Earth, Wind, and Fire, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, Harper Lee, George Kennedy. He was the sidekick in the Naked Gun films. He's also in Cool Hand Luke.
Actually, I saw him on an episode of Wings a couple days ago.
Oh, really?
They probably played it as a tribute.
Former First Lady Nancy Reagan, Sir George Martin, who was a Beatles producer. They called him the Fifth Beatle. Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Frank Sinatra Jr., former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, Gary Shandling, Merle Haggard, Doris Roberts, who was the mother on Everybody Loves Raymond, Prince, Morley Safer, Alan Young, who played Wilbur on Mr. Ed, Kimbo Slice, Muhammad Ali, Gordie Howe, Anton Yelchin, who plays the new Chekhov in the new Star Trek films. He died at the age of 27 in a freak accident when he was pinned against a wall by his Jeep. Buddy Ryan, who was an NFL coach. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Elie Wiesel, the author of Night?
Yeah, Elie Wiesel.
He died. Gary Marshall, Kenny Baker, who played R2-D2, Gene Wilder, Arnold Palmer, former U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno, Robert Vaughn, Gwen Ifill, Florence Henderson, Fidel Castro, Greg Lake of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, John Glenn, Alan Thicke, Craig Sager, was a sports journalist, Zsa Zsa Gabor, George Michael, and most recently, Carrie Fisher. So that is a lot of celebrities, right? It's an inordinate amount. It's a noticeable number. And also, I forgot to mention Lemmy. He died right at the end of 2015, so might as well throw him in there too.
Yeah, I think we're just starting to get to the age where a lot of the celebrities that we know are dying. I think it's we're just getting older.
Yep.
The celebrities that were celebrities when we were born and have been celebrities during our lifetime are getting to that age where they're croaking.
Right.
Yeah.
I was also wondering too, do you think it might partially be just because there are so many famous people nowadays? There's so many TV shows and...
Yeah, I mean, there's the people you mentioned, some I didn't recognize by name, but when you described who they were, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know who that is. So, are they, I don't know if they're famous to me.
I mean, a lot of them are, there's a lot of people there on that list that were sort of contemporaries. And it's like Nick said, they all they were sort of that age,
Yeah,
and
2/3 of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
And it may have something to do with what you're saying, where it's just there are so many celebrities. So it's, age and variety. It's just going to mean there's going to be more people dying that we're going to care about.
How do you guys feel when you see people blaming 2016 for all these deaths? Like on Facebook, people going fuck you 2016, or, please stop 2016, or all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. It's just probably spiritually disconnected people that, are just attributing some kind of godlike power to a number, a year. I don't know. I think it's kind of stupid.
Agreed.
Well, how else are you going to sum it up in a pithy, update or a meme, All the negative things that happened in the last 365 days, you suck.
Well, what did you guys think of this year overall?
Why? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Did you guys have a good year? Did you guys enjoy 2016?
No.
No. I thought it was a pretty good year, honestly. Didn't think anything, particularly bad happened. Sucks that those people died, but
Well, yeah, it's every year's a good year, I guess. I mean, but bad stuff happens too. My life is kind of getting tough, so I wouldn't say like it was like a great year, but it's still like a lot of good things happened in the world, when you look at the big picture. So,
did you guys make New Year's resolutions 1 year ago?
I don't think so.
I don't think I did one last year.
That's like blaming 2016. Fucking day. Now all of a sudden you're gonna like make some decision.
Well, that's more on you, right? Like if you are making some kind of commitment and following through with it.
Yeah, but it's based on it being January 1st is like when you decide to start doing that.
That's true.
For now, I'm eating holiday cookies.
Yeah. Yeah, I ate fast food the past 2 days.
Hey, right there with
Getting ready for January 1st?
It really helps with the spiral of depression.
My wife's family gets together the day after Christmas, and they always get Chinese food, but they get like an ungodly amount. So it's like we're eating Chinese food for like 4 days.
All right, after this, I'm going on that Atkins diet.
So, like I said, I kind of broke apart 2016 into a few different themes and kind of just chronologically listed them out, how things happened. So I thought maybe we can go into a few of these topics. And one, of course, that we're going to have to touch on is the election. I know that probably a lot of people are kind of pooped out with politics at this point. Me included. I'm kind of over it.
I'm kind of sweating bullets because almost all of my appearances have been predicated mostly on politics and the election. So we're just going to keep beating that horse, man.
So let's go over the 2016 election. Just
I'm a pundit.
Remember some highlights of it and see if anything, strikes us when we're looking back. So the first real events that I saw when looking back started on February 1st. This was the day that the State Department confirmed that Hillary Clinton's email server did have classified information on it. It was also the day that Ted Cruz won the Iowa caucus, and that Clinton and Sanders basically tied the Iowa caucus. As some people remember, there was coin flips involved in some places, so they essentially tied.
Yeah, didn't she like win out of 5 for 5 or something like that?
It was like 5 out of 5 or 7 out of 7 or something insane like that.
Pretty lucky.
And
Yeah, real lucky.
immediately following that, Mike Huckabee and Martin O'Malley suspended their campaigns. A couple days later, Rand Paul and Rick Santorum suspended their campaigns. February 9th, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders won the New Hampshire primary. Carly Fiorina and Chris Christie suspended their campaigns, and Jim Gilmore dropped out. So just going over some of those people who didn't end up being president, are you thankful for any of those names? I'm certainly thankful Chris Christie isn't going to be president.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and Carly Fiorina. And you didn't mention like Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, I think he actually dropped out
Or
before
Jeb
that.
Bush.
I think he
Rick
dropped.
Santorum, Jeb Bush.
I think that Lindsey Graham dropped out before the primaries even happened, because some of them did, like Rick Perry and Scott Walker.
Yeah, they
Those
were
guys.
like, no, we're not going to do
I
that.
didn't even know that they were running, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
That
because
was
I remember
early
the
on.
first debate, Trump was like making fun of Scott Walker.
Yeah.
And like, that
Because there
it.
was months of debates leading. Like the thing started when the show started. Actually, it was August of 2015.
Didn't they have like untelevised like B string debates? That
They were
just
untelevised. They were before
Pre-games, yeah. They were like
Pre-games.
prelims. Yeah. But the Lindsey Graham ones were the best. Like, that guy is hilarious, even though he would have been like nuclear option kind of president.
Yeah, he's such an asshole. I hate him.
He's like,
I hate that guy.
You ever seen The English Office?
No, I have not.
He's like David Brent, Ricky Gervais'
He looks like-
character.
he
He
looks-
looks just like him, and he acts just like him. There's a part in the debate where he did like this little shrug and like rolled his eyes. It was just like David Brent. Like it couldn't be more like him, and I was laughing so hard.
What was that shit? I think the last time we talked about Lindsey Graham, you told me that he's not married.
Right.
So the
He's a
first
bachelor.
lady, the first lady would be his mother.
or his sister.
I think it'd be his mother. Like, he'd just have his mother living in the White House with him.
I think he'd have a male advisor.
Yeah. No, I could see that. Sure.
So,
Big into conversion.
Jim Webb would have been all right. Rand Paul would have been pretty good.
would he though? I don't know.
Paul was kind of a disappointment. I think he could have ridden his father's wave, I think, more than he did, and he kind of
Well, if he stuck to the guns, you know?
Yeah, he tried to embrace like the Republican Party more and failed.
Learn from Trump. You don't need to do that
Right,
shit. So
exactly.
hopefully,
He
learn his
should've-
lesson. No
he should have
pandering.
been, he should have been Trump. He should have went on that anti-establishment
Oh, I agree.
kick, and he could have done a lot better.
Because he had none of the downside either, because he wasn't like, just like a psycho like Donald Trump is, you know?
Well, he lost his father's base right off, and that was the end of him.
Yeah.
So, just running through how the election played out. On February 18th of 2016, there was a bit of a dust-up between the Pope and Donald Trump when the Pope said that Trump's immigration stance was not Christian. And then Trump said that those comments were disgraceful, and he noted that the Vatican is surrounded by a wall, which is pretty funny.
Exclamation point.
Right after that,
Guards.
February 20th, Trump won the South Carolina primary, and Jeb Bush suspended his campaign. He actually finished 4th in South Carolina. It's kind of funny.
Low energy Jeb.
It's kind of funny he never got any kind of traction. I mean, you just figure, I don't know, the Republican establishment and just the people who typically vote for Republicans, and, we're big fans of George W. Bush and
There's no
his
such
father,
Yeah,
There's no
man.
such thing as like moderate Republicans anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of grew up in like a Republican house, and I mean, back,
You
80s,
think there's
early
still
90s, like what
Bush
happened?
rooters out there?
What
People-
happened to all those people?
The Iraq War, it's just
Yeah, dude.
sort of the creepy neocon agenda, I think, turned everybody off.
It took some time for some people. There's still people who are kind of waking up to that bullshit that went on during the Bush administration. But I mean, it was so obvious to me at the time, but a lot of people just didn't understand it. They didn't get it. They didn't want to understand it. They didn't want to educate themselves about what was actually going on during that time. And I think once they did, it's come out in trickles.
Yeah.
They even released 9/11 evidence now out in the open, and people people ignored it. So I don't know. I think that some people have woken up. There's kind of levels of awareness out there, but I don't know. I think,
But even just the understanding that we're getting like screwed too.
Yeah.
It's not like Republicans even believe that jive anymore, obviously, because they didn't flip to Hillary. Like, if you compare their policies, are like Graham's campaign got absolutely no traction. Jeb Bush's campaign really got absolutely no traction, considering he was like the heir apparent for the nomination.
Well, my theory was that there were so many candidates that it divided certain groups. I mean, because there's like 17 candidates. So for the Christian conservatives, for example, they had Ted Cruz, they had Rick Santorum, they had Mike Huckabee, they had Ben Carson. So that probably happened to some extent with whatever number of neocons there are in the Republican Party, right?
Yeah, but I think that's probably becoming kind of extinct as a relevant political subclad of the Republicans, I think if anything, they're going to more like adopt like libertarian kind of positions, become like socially liberal Republicans because it's popular with young people. You have to like evolve or die.
Or I think, as the Trump movement has kind of shown, they could just become really nationalistic and this, go along with this whole alt-right thing, which seems to be contrary in many ways to libertarianism.
I don't know if I really believe that narrative, though. That's like sounds made up to me.
alt-right.
Who fucking coined that phrase?
It just popped. It came out of nowhere for me. Like I don't know.
It's like a buzzword.
Overnight, it was
like
it was
the
just
bomb,
alt-right. Oh, well, you're just alt-right.
But there is a
I never called
trend
myself
of
that.
populist conservatism, which is not libertarian, right?
I don't know.
I guess. I think it's.
I mean, when you think about,
it's
like-
libertarian and just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Why do you feel funny in the locker room, Republican? I don't know. Maybe because I'm going to be a libertarian.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it coming back towards the libertarian. I think they've gone past like a lot of the ones that make immigration their big stance. I don't think they're ever going to come back towards libertarianism.
Well, I think it's just a kind of a confused ideology. It centers more on people coming in being the problem versus like what are people sold as free trade deals? Like these sort of protectionist, corporatist agreements between different fucking cartels in different countries, Yep. So when you associate the word free trade with something like that, like, free trade isn't really what you think it is. Like, I think there should be open borders. I think there should be trade, but try to explain that to a Republican who is like unemployed or underemployed.
Yeah, I think when I think of the alt-right, I think of it as more of like a social movement than a political one. They're more concerned with fighting the regressive left agenda of trying to stop people's speech and that kind of stuff. I picture them more as like a social movement against that SJW movement. Then
it's reactionary to sort of what's been going on in campuses and college campuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the way I view it.
And that's inherently what conservatism is. You want it to be the good old days, right? Was Trump's campaign "Make America Great Again"? Like, when exactly was it great? When we were killing all the Indians, or had slaves, or Chinese people were banned from coming in 1927?
I mean, I don't know if
European
you necessarily,
anarchists.
if it even means. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I don't know if it. I don't necessarily even think if it means anything. Make America great again. It sort of is just as ambiguous as change is. But I think people just assume. A lot. It became kind of mainstream to assume that it had a racist bent. That it was meaning back when we used to beat people. Beat up black people, or
Well, the history of America is inherently based on,
honestly,
basically cultural appropriation and destruction.
Looking at Donald Trump and kind of looking at how he acts and just sort of the guy he is, or at least the guy he portrays. I mean, to me, making America great again could just mean bringing it back to the time where everyone could break each other's balls and we didn't have like social justice warrior problems where everyone needs a safe space and gets triggered.
Hey, don't get me wrong, man. I
that
feel
to
like
me is my version of making America great again. It's just everyone stop being such a fucking sissy about stuff.
Right, but that's triggering them,
I don't fucking care.
But that's just being that's being a 30-year-old father. Like the switch flipped for me too. I'm like, man, I don't want like dudes going into women's bathrooms and stuff. That's the fucking point. Like, it's like what's in your pants is the designation that you go. It doesn't matter how you identify. It's
you just got to deal with it.
Dicks with
And
dicks,
if you don't want to
vaginas
use
with vaginas.
a public
Sorry,
restroom, go find a fucking porta potty or something that's unisex. Like, I try not to think about. For me, you want to know? 2016 for me was a lot of fucking like, what the fuck is going on with the fucking America?
But that's just being a cranky old man. Like, the switch flips when you turn 30, and it sounds ridiculous, and it sounds like 2016 sucks kind of thing.
I just can't imagine how
Well,
there
it's a year
are
we
people
turned
who
30.
But the
are-
world stopped making sense to me this year. I'm like, what? Who cares? Who the fuck cares? Like, what percentage of the population are these people who are SJW?
Did I believe in this dumbass shit? Like when I was
There's
that
5
age?
words for gay now. There's 5 letters that you have to say if you mean whatever gay. I guess it's like LGBTQ, and there's like an I now or something.
Inquisitive.
I don't know. And I don't want to know, and I don't really care.
I don't really care. Like, I don't want it to change. I don't want it to be stopped. I just want it to stop being fucking headline news all the time. Like, who the fuck cares?
But it's by
who the
design.
fuck cares?
It's like
Just keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be such a big deal. If someone's fucking picking on you, then you fucking pick on them back, or you fucking beat them up, or fucking poison them, or do whatever you want to fucking do. It's fucking America.
What happens to
Just,
sticks and stones?
yeah,
Come on
just
now,
fucking walk away from it.
Yeah.
Don't poison
No,
people.
I'm encouraging you to
Listeners,
violence.
Don't,
Violence.
Don't poison.
Violence. We need to toughen up.
Have you seen? It's going on like the University of Toronto too. There's this professor called named Jordan Peterson that's been like vocally speaking back against it because they're trying to pass legislation that'll make it a hate crime if you don't, it'll make it illegal for you to not address address somebody
Oh my God.
by their pronoun or something like that.
Yeah, the new gender neutral pronoun.
Right. Yeah. So he's like fighting against that.
Dude.
Really.
They make it
stuff.
against the law?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's really
It's a hate crime, not just against the law, but that's like federal prison.
What if someone's really, really, really passing, and you come in and you're like, hello, ma'am, and they're like, excuse me, it's Z, and I'm calling the cops. I feel offended.
Well, it's best just not to go to those kind of places,
What if it's like in a college bursar's office or something?
But I will, and like, it's even worse in Europe too with the refugee thing. Like, I'm all about open borders and people like things like that. But like if they are, I mean, I was watching some videos, and this is not stuff you'd see on the news, but it's like people just going through these sort of neighborhoods in Paris now that are more or less like off limits to white people. Like cops don't even fucking go there. And they're going around. There's like just mattresses on the ground. Like it's just chaos. It's totally out of control.
It's like Children of Men.
It is. It really is. Like it's just
Men.
massive Fugees walking around. Oh, little Fugees.
Yeah, they come in and
they're just leering at this dude who's filming it.
Oh my god, my fucking mind's being blown right now. Like think about the end of that movie when they go to that fucking refugee camp.
Yeah.
And it's all like Middle Eastern people in England. It's coming. It's fucking coming.
But on the same token, I'm sympathetic in as much as I don't want people to like legislate against it. Like I think, of all of Trump's sort of questionable decisions, my least favorite was Jeff Sessions as Attorney General there, because he's like totally against drug legalization or decriminalization efforts. He's been proven to be pretty much against blacks.
He's got to kiss the ring, man. I mean, that's the guy that they want to go in,
Yeah, well, and he's the law and order candidate. That was one thing that was really giving me pause about Trump, was that he kept kind of insisting on that. I love police. I'm the law and order guy. Like, yada yada yada.
Right. So that is the bad trend in conservatism. So it may be like okay to bust each other's balls, but it's still using government in this heavy-handed way to make people behave and go back to these social norms, like not smoking weed and not being a minority.
I think that's like a reactionary spasm, though. Like in reality, the average people don't really care. Think about sort of the generational shift between like our grandparents and then like our parents in their position towards marijuana, let's say. Now,
oh my God.
Our grandparents don't even know what it is, don't want to know what it is, don't want to think about it. That's bad. And the boomers were hippies, and now the demographic shift is that the World War II generation's dying. They're not really relevant in election politics anymore or whatever. Retiring. Yeah, so is really, I think that's on the average sort of person who votes Republican based on a few things that they find important, maybe jobs or the economy or social issues about like, identity politics and stuff.
Sure. And you think of like who's that kind of quote alt-right figure who's gay? Milo?
Milo Yiannopoulos or Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, so like he's gay, and obviously, I'm sure a lot of people in our grandparents' generation wouldn't really approve of that.
Right.
However, he's really for, enforcing borders and all these other really government-centric, heavy-handed tactics. So I think that's really the danger of the Donald Trump movement is while the Republican Party may be moving away from neoconservatism, they may just be moving towards another form of big government.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I mean, Trump's infrastructure plans are just mind-bogglingly not good. They're bad, very bad for the deficit and stuff like that. So, and for what? It's sort of looking back to, say, the carbon economy or like the commuter economy of this country. And I don't think that's really the right way to go.
Right. Well, it's government spending too. Anything spent by the government needs to be stolen from the private economy. So that right there is a negative to the economy.
Yeah, and how much will fixing bridges and paving roads that are just full of potholes and shit make a difference, really? Because it's the same shit. It's not like they're going to make some new super highway where you can go 200 miles an hour or something. They're just going to fix the shit that they already put in 1964, and that'll be good.
Yeah. But it's shovel-ready jobs.
That's true.
Yeah, it's busy work.
Right.
It's just fucking busy work.
Right. They should do it with spoons.
Well, Henry Hazlitt said, get rid of the fucking power equipment, steam shovels, and you'll have everyone employed in no time. Build a pyramid or something.
Well, regardless of what happens to the Republican Party, let's talk about the Libertarian Party. Because, going through just what happened this year, May 29th, was the day that the Libertarian delegates voted for Gary Johnson on their second ballot. And he had been their nominee before. And I think also there was a lot of, I think it took a couple ballots back in 2008 when Bob Barr became the nominee, because he was also like a Republican congressman or something, and people weren't happy with him. It seems like the Libertarian Party keeps nominating these Republicans, like disaffected Republicans, rather than really standing up for, being a party of Rothbard and Mises or whatever, Ayn Rand even,
Well, it's the Rand Paul syndrome, you figure you have to play to the middle.
Yeah.
But they don't really take into account that people are so disaffected with centrist politicians at this point in time. It's like the 20s, like this sort of just liberal democracy, we talk and nothing really happens shit. It's just not going to work.
And there's a wide base of sort of Republican-leaning people who just don't give a fuck most of the time.
Right.
And Donald Trump sort of
captured them, the zeitgeist,
and told them and made them feel like they actually were intelligent for once, like they actually were being respected by a politician for once.
Yeah, it's the rave vote.
I love the uneducated. He even fucking said that. I love the uneducated. It's just that's what pulled him through. We're just
it's like if the jocks in your high school.
No, I agree
were
with you. I think people are
in charge of the country.
I think people are sick of the media.
Yeah,
people are sick of the media telling them, what to think and the way that the world should be viewed. That lens that it should be viewed through.
Right, and being a disaffected person, I can tell you that like libertarianism, once you figure it out and like actually get exposed to real libertarianism, you're like, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. Then that way people can just do whatever and whatever's best will happen. So.
But is minarchist the Libertarian Party libertarianism? Is that real libertarianism?
It'll have to be. If there's such thing as the United States, it'll have to be.
I think it's scale. I think pure libertarianism is anarchism or voluntarism.
Sure.
And it's libertarianism in its purest form is voluntarism. No government.
Yeah, it's an emergent system.
But I see it sort of as a scale, because people just coming into the movement, even just using that vehicle, realizing that they're disaffected from the two major parties, pull it back, from the actual, people who view it as a philosophy rather than just like a political vehicle.
Right.
So is it a good thing that there are parties like the Libertarian Party and the Green Party to make people notice that there are other positions, or is it bad because it's participating in the system and you're still kind of, propping up all these different instruments of your own exploitation?
Well, if you gave me an option between, all right, would you try to get as close to the constitutional republic that was founded in the 1780s as possible, or do you want to like go further into sort of like totalitarianism in the military-industrial surveillance state? I think the choice is clear, it's not total. You can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, like that's fine with me.
Yeah. I think at that point, well, if we ever got back to that point, if we were to scale back the state to that point, we'd, there wouldn't be a fight anymore,
well, yeah, because it would be, everything would be so good. You're like, wow, this is fucking awesome, So
yeah,
everyone's as happy as they can be because they're allowed to decide what makes them most happy. It's obvious that that's the best. Otherwise, I wouldn't advocate it if it wasn't the best way to go.
Yeah, and like at that point, like the minarchists and anarchists are friends, and can be on the same team until we get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about it then. All right.
Yeah.
Articles Confederation. Anybody?
Yeah.
So let's just keep running through the election, just to kind of remind ourselves of exactly how it played out.
Oh, actually, one more thing before you move on.
Okay.
Do any of you guys listen to Free Talk Live?
No, I've heard you talk about it, but I haven't.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. They're like a they do like they're on like 150 stations or so, and they so they get a lot of calls from people who are not libertarians into the show, so they're able to kind of talk about issues to people that are just hearing about the ideas of liberty for maybe the first time.
Yeah.
So they sometimes get into arguments with people on the radio and stuff. It's a pretty good show. But one of the hosts was on a train going somewhere once, and he was talking to the passenger next to him, and he was someone in the Democratic Party, but sort of like high up, and he won't give the name of who it was because it was sort of like a good conversation, and he doesn't want to out the guy
Right,
or whatever.
yeah, and then he won't talk
But
to
the
him again.
the guy was saying that he that the Democratic Party is not concerned with the Republican Party anymore. They're actually more focused on libertarians because they know that the Libertarian Party is growing. The Libertarian Party is the future of their opposition, whereas the Republican Party is eventually going to die.
Right. And that's where this whole alt-right crap comes from. Like, if you're a constitutionalist or you believe in, the Second Amendment or something, all of a sudden you're this sort of alt-right whack job lunatic who's gonna, put on his hood and start just rampaging churches and shit.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
It's not necessarily just something that's like being peddled by the left either. I think the Republicans probably have a bit to do with it too.
Well, yeah,
like,
some of them, the Lindsey Grahams and the John
discrediting their own youth.
Yeah, and that's why they're still cleaning that culture wars crap with the moral majority and stuff. But nobody believes that shit anymore.
I want that shit.
Even in the South and the
there
West.
are some people. There are still churches in this country.
Well, obviously, but I don't think that everyone who goes to church really believes that we should live in some sort of weird theocracy either.
I narrowly avoided like going off on somebody at Christmas about like Israel because they were like, oh, the United States blocked some resolution for Israel.
They didn't block it. Is the problem?
Yeah, they
didn't block it. They abstained. They could have
blocked
Israel,
it. They chose not to.
And it became like it was a thing. It was like, oh, well, why did they do that? How could they do that? And in my head, I was like, fucking good. I'm like, fuck them. Fuck them, seriously. They fucking committed an act of war upon us in 1955.
And they blew up
they fucking attacked the USS Liberty.
Yeah, Liberty.
They painted their fucking jets to look like Egyptian planes, but it was an obvious deception. And they attacked a U.S. surveillance ship. Israel is not our friend, okay? They use us, and we use them, and a small minority in our government is supporting them. And I'm not a racist. I'm not a fucking white supremacist. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm just saying.
They've got the audio of them identifying identifying it as a U.S. ship. They know that they knew it was a U.S. ship and they attacked it anyways.
It has nothing to do with like a racist, neo-Nazi, any bullshit at all. I'm just
That's some
saying.
real Steve Bannon talk. You realize that, right?
Dude, it's just politics, all right? They're using us to protect them.
Whatever, Alex Jones.
No, but they're playing.
Put on your tinfoil hat.
They're playing like
it was the
they're
Obama
playing
administration
the
that
right,
did this.
like fucking marionettes. They have a very vested interest in making the religious right in our country feel that they have a spiritual obligation to protect them.
Dude, did you see that video on Netflix
I
that was
understand that they
produced
have
by
enemies.
Mossad about like the chosen the blood moon thing? The guys were talking about the blood moon and
creepy.
shit. I was like,
it's creepy. I understand that they have
I don't know
enemies,
about
and
that,
I
guys.
fucking don't want anyone to kill anybody. You know what
Well,
I mean?
I think that whatever was passed, it denounced the Palestinian terrorists as well. It was saying Israel should stop building the settlements in Palestinian land. That's what it was.
I just don't want to get in. I want no foreign entanglements. All right,
Yeah.
Washington's farewell address. Let's get out of foreign entanglements. Like that is a foreign entanglement. It's a bad one.
I agree.
It's a bad.
and
one.
that's why the Libertarian Party would do excellent if, like, say if Ron Paul was 14 years younger.
No, I
Like
agree.
he would have gone if he had ran
But
this
Ron-
year. He
but-
would have fucking mopped the floor with.
But
Donald
Ron
Trump.
Paul didn't endorse Gary Johnson. I guess that was really my
Yeah, good.
But that's my point, is that I think that the Libertarian Party keeps showing that it's going to keep getting co-opted into this, light statism.
I think Trump blew all that up. I don't think the establishment really has a foot to stand on anymore because their two chosen ones this year just couldn't cut the mustard. And Trump just said whatever the fuck he wanted. He was pretty unapologetic.
really.
He went directly to Twitter just to ignore the media. Like he played them all. Like, say what you want about the guy, but goddamn, like he fucking played him like a fiddle.
He understands how things are now. He used he was like you said, he's using Twitter. Just everyone's on Twitter. Everyone sees the
and
Donald.
in an idiocracy
loves
world,
the-
fucking macho's gonna fucking win. Like. That's the way it goes. Sorry,
Well, again, I think
the Rockefeller plan to completely destroy Western culture backfired on them. They got this fucking crazy regressive guy.
I think a big part of it, again, really is people being sick of being told the way that they should think and behave politically. I mean, it was obvious that the media was in cahoots with Hillary Clinton. It was proven that they were.
For sure.
And
then they're talking about Russian hacking versus the content of those emails. Like, it's just so baldly just craven and deceptive and just bad. Nobody wants that shit anymore. So now's the chance. You got to like put out a real message that makes sense, is cogent, or at least consistent. Sort of, like what was Trump's, I guess he just went on charisma, but I think Ron Paul, what really got me into Ron Paul was that like he says stuff and it's just consistent. Like it's never like, well, I this and that.
Yeah.
You're just like feeling for what, he's got a message to
he
fucking
would, like,
say.
just tell you
he
something.
doesn't compromise on
Wasn't a
it.
fucking
Who,
waffle.
if heroin was legal, who in here is going to do heroin? Like what politician says that? You need to get a guy who's like as sort of, I don't want to say Ron Paul's charismatic, but at least he's like a John the Baptist kind of voice in the wilderness sort of guy.
Somebody who's uncompromising with the philosophy. He won't backpedal on something. And then when the media puts him on his heels, he's not going to backpedal. He will stand by the ideas.
Yep.
That was somebody who will
and that
do
was
that.
Gary
That
Johnson's
was like
flaw.
Trump's appeal.
Gary Johnson
Gary
did
Johnson,
just collapse because he know what the hell he's talking about.
I was watching that town hall. I'm like, this guy's not a fucking libertarian. Him
Right.
and that fucking wrench or
Even-
weld guy.
Even in the
libertarian.
the libertarian debates. I mean, the guy took the position that you have to make bakers bake, Jewish bakers bake a Nazi wedding cake. I mean, that right there. That right there just shows you that you're not a libertarian.
Yeah,
right. He said that. He said that in the
jive.
libertarian debate. He said that in the
Jive.
libertarian debate.
You'd have to make a Nazi cake. No,
They're just
I
like,
could-
again, they're kind of like trying to get the log cabin Republicans like, oh, yeah, you can be gay and smoke pot, but you can also run a business. That's cool. But like, I don't like that. That's sort of like
I
just
think
so
you should
slimy.
be gay and smoke pot and run a business out of your gay pot smoking farm.
Yeah, that's a good
you know?
quote. There was a guy running for Congress in not Congress, Parliament in Canada, and that was his one of his quotes was, "I want gay gun owners to guard their marijuana plants with AK-47s."
Yeah. Just like they do in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just
Every part of that is true.
let me just run through this some more, just to kind of keep us on our 2016 theme. So, let me bring you back to July. It was July 5th. The FBI said that Hillary Clinton was careless with her email server, but that it would be unusual to prosecute her.
Unusual?
Then a week
She
later,
never gets prosecuted, so.
It would be unusual.
a week later, Bernie Sanders endorsed her, and Trump sent out a pretty good tweet, which was one of my favorites. He said that Sanders endorsing Clinton was like Occupy Wall Street endorsing Goldman Sachs, because it was.
Perfect. See, that's the shit he says, and like, oh, well, you're offending whoever, and he just doesn't care. Like, I think someone who had a libertarian slant instead of this sort of big money New York City conservative kind of fuck you, I'm walking here kind of slant, is I think we'll like just mop the floor with any bully
Can't you be
candidates
poor
that come up
somewhere
later.
else?
Yeah.
On
Hey,
July
get the fuck off my building, okay?
On July 22nd, Hillary Clinton announced Tim Kaine was her running mate. And on the same day, WikiLeaks released 20,000 DNC emails, which... Now, do you guys know the story behind this? Because what we're being told now, and I guess since then, is that it's Russian hackers. The Guccifer 2.0 was some Russian hacker, and the Russians are behind this. And we need to, I guess tomorrow actually, or it'll be before this podcast goes up, but our government's going to announce some kind of retribution against Putin and the Russian government. So, do you guys know where this is coming from? Or because I thought that there was some DNC staffer who said that he was the one who gave these emails to WikiLeaks.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me, man. Like smoke and mirrors.
Assange has come out and said that it was not.
Yeah, and the Russian government has denied it repeatedly.
Right. I mean, would they say it if it was them? I don't know.
Well, if you look at the initial reports, it always says, CIA sources. There's never like a person, never a sort of a fact that occurred that led to this conclusion. It always just says CIA sources have released a report that says.
It's funny how out in
That's
the
just
open
made up.
that word is. Like CIA sources. Like think about that particular word. Like
And this fake
the
news.
CIA is telling you. Fuck.
And the fake news bullshit
spies.
has backfired
The US
on them
spies
as
are
well.
saying-
Folks are telling you.
Yeah.
It really has, because now they say, "Oh, that's fake news. That's fake news," and everyone says, "Oh yeah, well NBC is fake news." So now everyone like views every sort of just Voice of America propaganda story that the CIA releases as like with a little more of a gimlet eye. I think they fucking scrutinize it a little bit more, and it's sort of just their whole facades melting away.
One of my favorite things in the latter days of this
The double-edged
campaign was
sword.
on watching the Sunday morning news shows, and they were getting angry about criticism of the media, like people starting to notice how the media was shaping the election. Like I think it was Chuck Todd specifically. It's like, we really need to stop all this talk about how the media is reporting on the election. We're just reporting the facts.
Yeah, down in Brazil, giving Hillary the fucking questions ahead of time.
Yeah, that's another thing is what we keep talking about
who now works for the DNC, the same position
we keep
Wasserman
talking
Schultz.
about who leaked the DNC emails and not the content of the
Right.
emails.
Jack
Like
said
that
that
was the important thing.
He said that
Yeah.
right in the beginning. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. To me, it doesn't matter who released it. I mean, if it,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If it proved corruption,
Please Russia
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me.
right,
Please
exactly.
China
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
me. Please
Yeah.
Cuba
Thank
tell
you.
me. Please
Right.
Iran
Thank
tell
you.
me.
Right.
I would love to know who the fucking liars are and what they're doing behind my back in the political class of my country. Please do it. Any country who wants to hack anything and let me know about it, please do.
Yep. I'm tired of living inside this cage of fear and control.
And just
You know what I mean?
propaganda.
Yeah.
What do you hear
Fucking let
fucking
me out.
Scott Pelley say? That's the truth? Come on now.
If Putin wants
And
to
if the more
fucking
people
help-
who know that, the better.
I think this really has exposed like how propagandistic the media is. This
Right.
election has more than anything.
And I'm sure the ratings are plummeting. That's good. The lifeblood of the fucking corporations is profits.
It really has.
fucking
It
let 'em
reminded me a lot of
wither.
the lead up to the Iraq War, like just everybody kind of saying the same thing
Yeah,
and being on the
mhm.
same page, and
Yeah.
just that just
Yellow cake uranium found.
propaganda.
Sources in the intelligence
Yeah, it was the
agencies
same
are
thing.
reporting.
fucking lying. And you could see it. You saw it happening, and you saw it being reported, and you saw the snowball building, and you knew that it was just bullshit the whole time. Like you could tell that they were just reading this shit, and they knew it wasn't fucking real.
Well, even then, though, as like a teenager, I wasn't really kind of with it enough to realize that they're just lying. I'm just like, oh, well, they said, all right, Colin Powell's up there saying it, and Donald Rumsfeld's up there saying it, so it must be true. Or
But it happened so fast. Like they weren't even doing anything. Like all this information just falling into their laps.
well, I remember when they did the
It's-
missiles. I was watching it live. It's like a TV show, I was just like, oh shit, I was kind of like exciting, but
Yeah, when they started bombing them. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great
they're
how they had
showing
like
back
that
and it's like,
pre-placed fucking webcam just showing
Yeah.
you all the majority of the bombing, all these explosions going off. It's just
it's too perfect.
yeah.
Fucking Michael Bay
It
direct
is.
that
It
shit.
really is. It really is.
Well, another
What the fuck is going on?
But
So-
I didn't see it then, but I see it now. So thank you, fucking Gussifer,
Yeah, for real. Thanks, RT.
Julian Assange.
I don't know if it's worth talking about, but it's kind of along these same lines. Do you guys remember on September 11th, Hillary Clinton left the 9/11 memorial ceremony and then she collapsed and
Yeah.
got thrown to the back
Yeah.
of the van? Like that was following
Fell the fuck
several
over.
months of a conspiracy theory that she had health problems.
Well, yeah, and they're like, let it go, forget it. And then
Yeah.
she just hit the deck, and they're like, we'll still just let it go, okay?
Leave her
Forget it.
alone. You're making her anxious.
You're triggering our Manchurian candidate. She's going catatonic.
Hillary Rodham Clinton.
So the first Trump-Clinton debate was September 26th. Then on October 7th, the Washington Post released footage of Trump making sexual comments in 2005, which was 2 days before the second
Shots
Trump-Clinton debate. Which, yeah, again, it seems like, they were trying to come out with some October surprise or something.
Shots.
But again, it totally backfired on him because you're thinking about guys who are like, say, friends with my dad. And they're
fucking
hanging
grab her by
around
the
on a
pussy.
tailgate drinking some bush. And they say to themselves, you can grab some pussy tonight at the
Grab
bar? Or
Dude, just go up there and grab her by the pussy.
what?
All right?
Yeah. What would...
Two dudes talking.
Well,
what
then,
would the Westchester Fire crowd say if someone's grabbed him by the pussy? They'd laugh. They'd think it's funny. That's cool. You
And-
know, hey, this guy's all right. He speaks my language. Pussy grabbing.
And that's who voted for Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Right? That's who
And
put
that's what I've been
Donald Trump
saying.
in
It's
office.
that silent majority. But
and
those
Trump
people,
is good at pivoting too, because at that second debate, he brought those Bill Clinton rape accusers. So they were like sitting in the crowd, if you guys
Right.
recall. So
he's like, hey, I may have grabbed some pussies. I never raped 4 bitches, okay?
Yeah.
so
I didn't bite her lip off, while I was raping her. I didn't bite her face. You
And
know?
then grin and leave the room.
Yeah.
Like a fucking creepy.
Did people
is,
say-
man.
people said that
Bill
Bill
Clinton when he like violently.
Bit a woman's lip
Yeah, she's
off?
like she got on top of me. He's very strong in like the 70s, and she like bit her lip till it was like really bloody.
Which one was that?
Okay.
That was Juanita Broderick, I think.
Yeah, it was like one of the earlier ones, and like when he was still a staffer for a Democratic campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like left the room. Like, ugh.
You loved it.
October
That's horrible.
18th, the White House announced that they were confident that Russia was behind the DNC hacks and trying to influence the election. That was one day before the third Trump-Clinton debate. Then this was the last real story, and this is something that Clinton has blamed her loss on. On October 28th, Comey came back and said the FBI was reviewing new evidence in the Clinton case that I guess they got from investigating Anthony Weiner.
October surprise? Okay, I can do October surprise.
And then on November 6th, which was just 2 days before the election, they said that they still weren't going to prosecute. But do you think that, I mean, was there a reason for that? There must have been, right?
Well, the sort of fake news sources that I follow.
Pizzagate.
Well, there's that, and also just sort of the lawlessness in the FBI, like lawlessness of the Clintons had really kind of gotten to the agents, I think on a personal level. And they were just going to make it happen. The fake news sites I talk about, there's sort of like this, like a civil war almost going on in the intelligence community.
Between the FBI and the CIA?
Yeah, which
There
is kind of
always has
weird.
been.
Which is kind of weird if you consider all the celebrity deaths. But anyways,
Plants on both sides.
well, yeah, these are your
Loyal
agents, these are our
soldiers.
agents, and then
Loyal
they fucking getting
soldiers.
killed. Oh, he got crushed by a Jeep? That's too bad. What a weird accident.
Oh yeah, just like all the Hillary's witnesses. And
Right.
shit.
But yeah, so there's the appointment of Matt Flynn was very important. That Mag Dog Mattis was very important because Trump's kind of aligning, as the media is calling them, the alt-right, because they're on the other side. And they're kind of aligning their pieces in place to sort of really like do purges and stuff within the intelligence community, because those people are unelected. They don't go anywhere. They just kind of mill around. And I think he's really trying to like shake some shit up, sort of with some select generals.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird seeing, again, Lindsey Graham has been on the news the past few days as sort of being this voice of, I guess, the traditional right, who's talking about, we need to create sanctions against Russia, which, again, are going to be announced tomorrow.
Right, so that's that side. That's like the CIA neocon axis versus like the FBI sort of alt-right axis, whatever that coalition you want to call it. The MAGA forces.
So let's talk about the election results themselves, because I don't think we've really discussed this. Rob and Jack, we were all together on election night, but I don't think we knew the specifics of the exact numbers. So something that the Democrats and the left and the social justice warriors are mad about is that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. On election night, Donald Trump won 62.98 million votes. Hillary Clinton won 65.84. Gary Johnson won about 4.5. Jill Stein won about 1.5. So she won the popular vote. However, I guess that argument against that is that if you take California out of the picture, Trump actually did win the popular vote. It's really just because of California. So what do you guys think about the Electoral College and about a popular vote for president versus an electoral vote?
Well, that was the point of it, right? I mean, that's what the southern states, their whole beef was. They're like, well, I mean, if we do it just by a strict popular vote, then like New York is going to decide and Massachusetts are going to decide it like every time. So,
Right. The original system was 50 or, however
13.
many elections, meant to have several elections so that each state or state had a a say. I heard a really cool, a really good explanation as to why, the popular vote really doesn't matter because that wasn't the game. So the World Series, the World Series isn't decided on. The World Series isn't decided on runs. It's if game one is 17-2, the team that's losing doesn't bring in their best closer because they want to save them for the later games. Whereas like Donald Trump would spend some more time in California if the popular vote mattered. California is sort of ceded to the Democrats because it's a lost cause to even try to campaign there or to even try to get the vote out there. So it's like. The strategy would be different. So changing it to the popular vote now would it would change the game.
Right.
It's that's not the game. The game isn't how many runs you score over 7 years. It's how many. The first person to win 4 games.
Right.
That's what the Electoral College is the first person to win 270 Electoral College votes.
I heard also that they think they're projecting now that this could be much more common for Republicans to become presidents by winning the Electoral College but losing the popular vote, just because populations are increasing in California, New York, Florida, but in a lot, the smaller states, they're still going to retain disproportionate numbers because they have 1 representative but 2 senators. Mm-hmm. So, or along those lines, the senators throw it off so that they have an inordinate amount of influence. By the way, I did want to talk about the actual final Electoral College vote itself, which came after a petition to overturn it, which we know because we got unfriended and blocked by somebody for critiquing that.
Oh, but hurt.
But yeah, Trump won 304 in the final tally. Hillary Clinton won 227. She had a bunch of people defecting. There were people who tried to vote for Bernie Sanders, but they were told that it wasn't allowed, so they had to go vote for her. But then in Washington State, 3 of her delegates ended up voting for Colin Powell, which is odd choice. One voted for Faith Spotted Eagle.
Yeah, she.
One in Hawaii,
the Dakota Access thing.
One delegate in Hawaii did vote for Bernie Sanders, and then there were 2 Trump delegates in Texas who voted for other people. One voted for John Kasich, and one voted for Ron Paul. So Ron Paul got an Electoral College vote this year.
Right.
Were those like alternate votes, sort of like fuck yous to Hillary Clinton? Because doesn't it seem like it's obvious? You're supposed to be voting for Hillary.
Well, the drive of like that petition, for example, was to get all the Trump delegates to change side and vote for Hillary Clinton. So these people were going even against that and be like, no, well, fuck Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So good for them. But Colin Powell is a weird choice. We need to talk to those people. I don't know why they would have picked him of all people.
Yeah, I don't know. He's in the middle.
I guess.
More likable than a lot of those WikiLeaks emails are like he wrote, right? Then they have like his whole server got stolen and put in there.
I don't know, but there was another leak or something earlier this year, I remember, where there was some general and he was talking to, was it Colin Powell? He was talking to Colin Powell and he was talking like Wesley Clark about how to get the American public behind some kind of war against Russia or something. Do you guys
Colin
remember
Powell
that?
was?
No, it was this other general, and he was like asking for advice, I believe, from Colin Powell and from Wesley Clark.
I vaguely remember what you're talking about. I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember hearing that.
It's hard to remember because that shit doesn't get reported.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the Newland stuff, remember, against Ukraine when they were trying to influence that.
Yeah, what is she, something about this fucker or...
Fuck the EU.
Yeah, fuck the EU. That's what...
As a U.S. general said
Well,
that?
I can't say I disagree. No, she was like...
Victoria Nuland.
She's like a State Department official.
Yeah, State Department. And
ambassador to the UN or something like
her
that.
Her husband is Kagan, too. He's one of the big neocons.
Yeah. That's right.
He was, I think he was a signer of the Project for the New American Century.
Oh, good. Awesome. Well, what do you think about all of Trump's appointments so far? Because it does seem like there are some people in there that it's a little disconcerting, like you said, with Sessions or some of the other folks. Like they are kind of...
Well, you kick the door open, some reptiles are going to get in. There's nothing you can do about it.
One thing that I look at, I see as promising is that he had an hour meeting with Judge Andrew Napolitano.
But he's been doing a lot of meetings though. Like he's meeting with all the tech guys. He met with Kanye West. You know?
Yeah, true. True. But Napolitano, I think he's he's the real deal. He speaks at Mises Institute events and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
So, you're a constitutionalist.
I hope he gets put on the Supreme Court.
I don't know that
Yeah,
he will
that'd
be
be awesome.
the pick, but I think that they were more, talking about who he would pick if he was in his spot. You know?
Well,
You should go on
fingers
Young.
crossed.
You should go on Young Turks.
Who? Napolitano?
No, Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
You are the worst person ever. What do you feel about that?
I'm gonna make you Secretary of State.
So I did have a
Talker
couple
Jake.
other subjects to go over besides the election.
I know you don't think it, but you're gonna like me. You're gonna like me.
The next one really is protests and political turmoil also. So we're kind of on the same subject.
All right.
Remember on
Nice
January
song.
2nd of last year, almost a year ago now, numerous people seized the Mulner National Wildlife Refuge, and there was a 40-day standoff.
Yep.
One person was killed, Robert Lavoy Finicum, when there was a roadblock,
Yep.
and he was shot.
Actually, wasn't a roadblock. They chased him.
Yeah, they pulled him over.
No, there's a
No, there was a
roadblock. I saw
roadblock
the
in front of him
footage.
too. They're
Really?
chasing
Yeah.
him into the roadblock.
Yeah.
It's like when you have 3 stars in Grand Theft Auto.
They blocked the road. They were chasing him. They tried to drive up in the snowbanks. One of the, I think, FBI agents jumped in front of the car.
Yeah.
So they went more into the snowbank. And the guy got out of the car, and he looked like there's helicopter footage. It looked like his hands are up, and then he just gets shot. So
Right. Well, they also
Fuck 'em.
the people in the car said that they were shooting at him.
yeah, they
before he
were
got
shooting
out of the
before,
car.
and they were shooting at them before the car stopped.
Right.
Like they were just shooting the whole time.
Yeah.
like when you get 3 stars in Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
But on October 27th, is it Amon? How do you pronounce his name?
Amon.
Amon Bundy and 6 others were found not guilty on multiple charges, although they kept him to prosecute him for the original standoff they had a couple of years ago. But that was really seen as a big blow for whatever the prosecution of this protest, or I don't know what some people call it. They call them militants, and I guess some people were saying it should be considered a terrorist act.
Yeah, they're all right terrorists for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's so that right there. I hate when that's one thing where I just kind of stand in the middle and I'm like, what? Why? Because the right does the same thing when it's like someone from the left standing up against the government, and the left does the same
Yeah.
thing. They don't see that they're the same exact thing. It's the
Right.
same exact thing of them breaking up an Occupy encampment to them,
Or
doing
just
that.
like
Just
killing,
trying
So many people
killing
just-
black guys for the fuck of it,
So
basically.
many people just drive by and just fucking shit talk like,
Yeah.
beep beep, we're good job, beep beep. It's like, why don't you just fucking come over here and talk to us? Like, you'd understand that it's more than just like we don't want to work.
Because they watch Fox News and they see
Yeah,
that
man.
guy go up to the protesters and they say funny things, so they must all be idiots.
Well, it's like that's the Trump voter, driving by, bunch of fags, get a job.
I got a job.
There's that fag talk again.
I work in the warehouse. I got my forklift driver's license.
I'm an auto detailer, pal.
So let's talk about this. Right after Antonin Scalia died, like immediately after, the Republican Senate leader said that they weren't going to vote for Obama's Supreme Court nomination. Then about a month later, on March 16th, Obama nominated Merrick Garland, who was never voted on. He's apparently not going to become a Supreme Court justice, I think we can say at this point.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that? Should the Republicans have done their constitutional duty and voted on him?
No.
No?
I don't think so. I think, it's their constitutional duty, but it's also that you can't be forced to do something. I think that that's within their power. Like that's kind of one of the checks of government is.
But why couldn't they have just voted no? Like, why did they have to refuse to even hear from him?
That I don't know.
Do you have any thoughts on this, Jack? I know this is kind of like I don't know.
It's a little wonky, but to me, it makes no difference. I don't think that because I'm not really entirely sure what, say, a Trump-appointed cabinet or judiciary Supreme Court's going to look like. Like how many of the justices are like, okay, so Scalia's position's empty, Ginsburg she can't be around for much longer. You know, how old is that lady? Like 90 or something like that? And they said that there could be like 3 or 4 that could potentially be filled by this presidency, you know? So I don't know if I'm really entirely comfortable enough with Trump. Like, say, in a fantasy world, Ron Paul got elected. I'd say, yeah, sure, they should have just waited because now Ron Paul gets to pick one. You know, I'm just rooting for my team. I don't really, the whole constitutionality of it, one way or the other.
All the old buzzers are dying off, you know? Like, not just celebrities, but politicians, too. So we're going to see a lot more of this shit. Just vacancy.
Yeah, who's going to be there to take the reins? Our generation?
That's right.
We're in big trouble.
Oh.
Big trouble. I can hardly tie my shoes.
I was going to mention the
matter.
bathroom, the North Carolina bathroom bill, but I think we kind
wear
of
shoes.
touched on that already. Let's talk about Brexit. So June 3rd, the people of Britain voted to leave the EU. June 24th, the next day, David Cameron resigned, and then Theresa May became the prime minister after that. So I know we talked about Brexit before on here, but you guys have any final thoughts on that? Think it was a good thing, a bad thing?
Let them do what they want.
I doubt it'll happen.
You don't think it's going to happen now?
It'll probably be Remain.
Wait, it's not a done deal?
Yeah, they said they were going to do it, but they haven't done anything yet. I'll say that
I
much.
thought they did it.
Some judge ruled against it or something like that now?
I think they said that like the parliament has to have some additional say or something like that. They have to actually pass some additional legislation.
I thought this was like a
That's why you can't fight City Hall, man. They just changed the rules on you.
It was
who voted for this? The people of Britain voted.
Yes, it was a referendum. Should Britain leave the EU?
But the Parliament wasn't involved in it at all.
Apparently not.
Oh, this was just some kind of grassroots thing.
It was a referendum, yeah, like the
it's like when you
marijuana legalization in California.
Yeah, like they had the people vote on it, but are they going to actually do it now? And actually, I just heard that Massachusetts delayed something of like opening up marijuana shops.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole another year.
2018.
Oh, hold on.
Let's talk about just a few other political turmoil things. You guys do?
Foley artists.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about some other big political events from the summer. So July 7th, Alton Sterling got killed in Baton Rouge, and Philando Castile got killed in St. Paul, Minnesota on the same day. There were a bunch of protests against that. In Dallas, where there was some protests, a gunman killed 5 police officers. On July 17th, a gunman killed 3 police officers in Baton Rouge. And the summer was pretty, nuts with all that stuff going on. Do you think that we're going to keep seeing Black Lives Matter protests? Do you think with Trump as the president, there's going to be some kind of harsh reaction against mass civil disturbances like that? I mean, I think, things could get things as bad as they were this summer, they could be worse next summer.
It could be like a Reagan redux, you know what I mean? Like this could be the 80s again, or some kind of new, like a new economic depression. I don't know. I see a lot of people don't like Trump just because, and
Well, there are protests against him, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying, any, again, like Black Lives Matter type protest. What are your thoughts, Nick?
I think that when they look at it like it's a race issue, it really divides people.
That's true.
I personally see it as like which is how I see a lot of things, but sort of like a governmental thing. If you look at some of these videos, I mean, it's pretty clear the side that people should be on in them. If somebody's unarmed, and they get shot, they shouldn't get shot.
Right.
I can't really.
Yeah, no matter what race they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't really see. And especially like. They keep playing this, like, saying these things like stop resisting and stuff like that when the guy's clearly not resisting and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like...
hit him again.
Yeah. But, like, I just don't see how they don't see it as, like, a governmental thing. Like, when when like the guy who shot the Walter Scott there in whatever South Carolina or whatever just got off.
Oh, man.
It's incredible.
It's
Incredible that guy got off for that.
Is that the one where the guy the dude breaks away and like starts running?
Yeah.
And the cop just like pulls out his gun.
He pulls out his gun
draws
and
down
like,
on him,
takes aim at the guy
aims
running
at
away,
him, yeah.
shoots him,
Boom.
shoots him on camera. Then he goes up and he plants the taser on his body.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he still got off.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there
That's
just shows you
ridiculous.
that there's a problem, and I don't know what it is because the jury let him off.
Right.
You know.
Well, they elected the law and order candidate, you know.
So
Police are right all the time.
yeah, I mean, are you guys worried about policing under Donald Trump? I think that's, besides immigration, like this is an area where things could get worse, if there is a law and order type reactionary.
Just got to stay
movement.
low, I guess.
Well, do you think that like police themselves, like the institution should be changed or, maybe move towards a privatized system or just more community involvement or something?
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole a lot of times police departments won't hire police officers who are from the areas that they are policemen in for fear of retribution and stuff like that.
Right. That's what happened in Ferguson, right? Like it was all white police and the community is entirely black pretty much, or like
Which is
80% or
ridiculous.
something.
That doesn't make any sense. If anything, they should be required to have to live in the places that they police. So there's some fucking accountability.
But do you think
On
there
a
should
social level, I know this person. I'm not going to fucking draw down and kill this guy who's like my, cousin's husband's nephew or something like that,
But should there be federal mandates on local community police organizations to make them do things certain ways?
See, yeah, I mean that's sort of where like I kind of break with,
They can
the line is that
cessation of funding is always a good alternative to forcing someone to do something.
I think that like service in the community should be sort of mandatory. I mean, well, not mandatory. I just think that we need to overhaul our entire sort of not only our military but like our police force. We need to have more people need to have more of a stake in their own defense. They need to be made to be aware of how the responsibility is to be a citizen of the United States. You know what I mean? Like I think that policing in the community should be like everyone's responsibility. You know what I mean? Like I think everyone should be prepared. I think it's up.
Well, when you have a genuine community, that's what happens,
Yeah.
because everyone's accountable to each other versus these sort of like weird agglomerations based on
Right.
governmental restrictions, more or less.
My feelings on the policing issue in the United States go so far beyond just like, oh, well, maybe they shouldn't be shooting people, Like, police, I've always felt this, it's easy to explain to people, is that police follow procedure, and police procedure is what they drill on, it's what they train on, and it's very clear to them, If A happens, then B. That's what it is. If A, they don't follow your commands, well then B, you can do this, or or possibly C. And these are it's very simple options for officers. They have to put this all down on paperwork, so the procedure has to be very it has to be easy to understand for them. So if people fuck around, they're going to get shot. That's basically what it is. The officer has to protect himself.
It just escalates till they shoot him.
I don't think cops are always out there hunting people down. I think, but when
But they are looking for trouble. And a lot of these fucking guys are veterans of
it's gotten
Iraq
to the point,
too now.
yeah, it's gotten to the
But it's
point
not
where
their fault as individuals.
It's not their fault as individuals.
It's institutions. It's
But
the laws that they're being told to go enforce.
They've been given,
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think you get absolved of. I mean, I
No,
don't think
that's
that
true.
guy
They're not
that
absolved,
guy shooting that guy
They're
in
not.
the
They're
back.
not deciding.
That guy
to-
shooting the guy in the back, though. I mean, that
Oh,
guy.
no, he
that,
chose to
that right
fucking do
there.
that.
Yeah,
That's
that right there
premeditated.
was not in the continuum. I think
Yeah.
if they're following what the continuum should be, then these videos don't exist. Of them unless they're shooting somebody who is warranted to be shot.
What I'm also saying though is that a lot of times you get these guys who are very robotic. They're not free thinkers. They're officers for a reason, and they become slaves to this protocol where they don't sort of think outside the box with any of the situations that they're dealing with. You know, they just go to the procedure. They're not thinking about maybe extenuating circumstances that are going on. And I think that's where you get these like situations that could have been handled differently by somebody who's a little bit more intelligent, maybe a little bit more engaged with what exactly is going on in the community in the day and day.
Right.
So
well, okay. So, but having it run by the government, having everybody's security run by the government means that the government is like it's in their favor to create the system like this. You know, if it were privately run security, their goals would be completely different than government police.
What I'm saying is like it would.
The Pinkertons were assholes.
What I'm saying,
Blackwater's assholes.
What I'm saying is I'm in favor of private, but at private as in like, okay, Colchester, like the Colchester police just isn't like those 8 guys down at town hall. You know what I mean? Like the Colchester police is every neighborhood, you know, neighborhood watch isn't just like a sign that they put up on the end of their block. Like people in the neighborhood actually are engaged in running their own neighborhoods. You know what I mean? Like I want to see sweeping change all over the United States. Like I'm just tired of the way that we're running our country. I think.
Okay, but should they be?
But there's never going to be that. There'll never be communities where every single person wants to be their own security. That's like when you let people make that decision, they're going to decide to cede security to somebody else when they can afford to do it. And there's always going to be a market for it.
Well, not all the time.
There's a market for it.
Rob's community might not. You know,
then maybe we bring back militias then.
They might not. I mean,
or descriptively, what's the difference between that and like the mafia?
I don't. Yeah. Well, the mafia kind of exists in the sense that the black market exists. You know, for whatever. You know.
But in a vacuum of that, you get the sort of gang activity, basically, right? Because these brigands are going to be sort of like their own community, and they like impose themselves upon the defenseless.
But the government was a gang.
But at that point, they never have.
Oh, sure.
If they decide to do that, though, they don't have legitimacy to do that. The government does that, and it's supposedly legitimate just because it's the government. The mafia is never legitimate government, so at least you have like some sort of recourse, you know, for that. Whereas like. The government does it and it's legal because they say it is, you know,
right?
You know,
yeah.
No,
I know.
So I mean, I'd rather see it go the way of, you know, the market decides, you know, if there's a market for security.
I would too. Don't get me wrong. At least, you know, those guys, a gang of thugs, are sort of easy to topple. You know, it's not this like monolithic,
right?
This sort of, like you said, legitimized morally and ethically too.
Right.
Like if people care about that anymore, I'm not sure they really do.
Well, yeah,
everything's emotion driven.
Yeah. But that's what I care about.
Yeah.
So Rob, like
that's 2 of us.
If the federal government said, all right, so everybody is now going to be every man or able-bodied person is going to be a member of their local community police force, whether they like it or not. Would that be a good thing?
No. All right. So it's not just police force. Like I think that people that live in a town and live within a borough and live within like a municipal district and maybe I think that if you live within a municipal district, you should be like have an active role in that town. Like I think jobs should be made available to people that want to work in the town, and I think that more people should have a stake in their own communities. I'm tired of like people commuting around for work and like working at a big box retailer. I think that like we have too much undeveloped land. We're I don't know. I'm not making any sense. It's it's not going to go anywhere. You know, it's too Pollyanna.
Well, and people are naturally going to, you know, in a vacuum of overarching legitimized violence, people are going to agglomerate into sort of social groups anyways. We're a social species. We live in tribes, sort of packs. What is that but a sort of extended gang, right? I mean, you know, what's the difference? But the fact that there are norms that are enforced by violence just kind of happen as necessity. I think you really can't escape that a little bit.
So you're saying when you remove legitimacy of violence overall as the guiding principle by which government operates, then there'll be less violence within our communities anyway.
Right, because once people, if they are in fact communities, like that's the difference. People live in sort of these individual houses in this society, sort of divorced from each other. I don't really know my neighbor across the street. I've seen them and talked to them once or twice, but try to live in a, a village in the Amazon or something like that. Like everyone lives in one big house. You know everybody. There is no, you got to have a serious beef with someone that everyone else agrees is valid before you can be violent to anybody, because they'll just turn on you.
We're not living in like a very healthy society.
No, the modern condition is
anyone
illness.
listening right now. You can't be, if you live in an area where you're surrounded by mostly strangers and every day you interact with people who are barely acquaintances. You can't tell me that that's a healthy way of living. The anxiety that you feel every day when you walk around and you see, people you don't know or who might know you or something. Like we're really disjointed, and I think everybody knows that. I don't, I'll argue all day about that. I think,
and even if they don't know it, they feel it anyway.
Yeah, I think people feel it. I think
that's why I want to make America great again, because you knew everyone on the block, and there's a lot to that. Like it sounds corny and sort of maudlin, but it's true.
Yeah.
The way neighborhoods are, nobody knows. There's nothing going on other than what's happening in your yard, in your family,
or on TV.
But that's largely because of technology, right? I mean, everybody's staring at their phone or their computer or their TV, and
a lot of it has to do with the sort of the moral. It is really about like the moral and ethical underpinning, or like what we value in society. You interact with people all the time, every day, but it's mostly driven by currency, more or less. So our business transactions, genuine human transactions, I would argue that they're not.
And I think
machines do them so good.
I think it's really extreme here in America too, because we're really like a loose cultural base. We don't have like really like sort of.
Well, the first country with no culture
homogenous.
whatsoever that's original.
Like our culture, the American culture is still sort of in its infancy. It's sort of like something that's growing if it remains. If this experiment still continues.
I think it's almost like a nostalgic thing now. I think it's that we had this great society 70 years ago or whatever, and now we're trying to reestablish it. Well, some people would say that. Others would say that we did not.
Who wants to make America like China again? You want the fucking Cuyahoga River to catch fire and fucking raw sewage to be pumped in the Connecticut River? I don't.
Do you think it might also be due to the fact that the U.S. is just like so humongous that there isn't really one culture? Because there's like
we're a nation of immigrants.
No, because like even Russia, can trace itself back to 650 when the Kievan Rus were converted to Christianity or whatever.
Right.
What do we got? We're automatically, axiomatically, a revolutionary republic in the first place, based on these sort of radical liberal ideas.
Like if smaller government were possible, and and there was actually like even government within, if it got down to like the community level like that, it would have to be much smaller, Like it's the same thing with the cops living in the neighborhood. If the cops are living, in the place that they're policing, they're going to know the people. So if the government was smaller, if everything were smaller, your circles would be smaller. In that world. Maybe maybe you'd still interact with people online, but I think that's, if it were smaller entities, the culture would be different between areas.
Yeah, it'd be interesting
because you'd move in with people that were like you, and and you could actually affect the way that you
the ability, to move 30 miles away, and it would be drasly different.
Right.
And you can really optimize how you want to live.
Right. And that's why you see things like migrations and stuff like that of people. You see like, a lot of hippies went to Vermont, and now it's a, kind of like a laid back culture there, they're trying to do it in New Hampshire with, like liberty minded people trying to get people, people who are libertarian, trying to move to the same place so that they can actually affect the government there. And they picked the place that has the most accessible government, luckily. So, they actually, it was a guy's doctoral thesis, that he wrote, with the idea of picking a state to try and actually affect, freedom.
Yeah.
And they came up with that one because it was the most accessible, and it's the largest body for the smallest amount of people. So all of the representatives are, really accessible to you. So it's an interesting idea. But.
Yeah, I think honest reform can move things in the right direction. I mean, if you have to use the gun pointed at the right people, I guess.
Well, let's talk about another protest that happened and just ended recently. It was the Dakota Access Pipeline protest that happened all year long. When I did my road trip, I saw some people who were protesting actually the name of the Cleveland Indians, but also had been to Standing Rock. And it kept building and building up until December 3rd when the U.S. Army said that they were not going to allow the pipeline there. So what are your guys' thoughts on those Dakota Access Pipeline protests?
I mean, that's good for the Indians to assert their sovereignty, but will it make much of a difference? I don't know.
I believe it's just to reroute the pipeline too, like around them. And I think that actually happened before. I think there was some like rich white community that didn't want it there, and it wasn't a big hassle. It's like, all right, we'll stick it down here.
Yeah, lawyers are great.
But after these protests, they're not putting it through that region now. So I believe they're just moving it over and over again. I don't think they're stopping the pipeline.
Right.
Right.
It'll get here one way or the other.
Yeah.
They didn't want it through their land, so.
Nick, did you have any thoughts on the Dakota Access Pipeline protests? Or the pipeline itself?
Well, it's one thing that I haven't really done, a lot of looking into it. I've seen, people on the other side against the protesters saying that, they kind of avoided the process, that they had been invited to the table and had not, gone to voice their opinions. Maybe they thought that they were going to lose anyways, and that it wasn't a fight to, that they were going to lose anyways. I don't know. I don't really see that as, that's not really my opinion of it. I look at it more like an eminent domain issue. I think if it's their property, and they're willing to take responsibility if there is some sort of leak on it, and it affects other people's properties like drinking water and stuff like that, they should be held accountable. But I think it's really a problem of if they're taking people's land who are against that.
Well, the whole pipeline is like a government pipeline, right? Like it's because the Army's constructing.
It's built by the Army, Corps of Engineers, I think. So
okay, so who owns the pipeline? Is it government property?
It might be.
Yeah, they probably lease it.
Okay.
Which is nice because you get to externalize all the maintenance costs and then probably pay them like a
sure,
lot
right.
of
So,
loss.
Fascism.
I guess that's my point. Is
the
it
whole
probably
fascism
wouldn't
thing? It's a private company that's doing it, but it's paid for by government. When they want something to happen, they take people's property and stuff for business.
Nobody fucks with Standard Oil,
right?
Fascism. Let's talk about some other business news from 2016. On February 1st of this year, Alphabet surpassed Apple as the world's most valuable company at $568 billion.
Alphabet?
Yeah,
They
Google.
are the parent company of Google.
Oh.
On July 25th, Verizon announced they were buying Yahoo. And also in related news, Yahoo later announced that $500 million, and then later they said 1 billion accounts were hacked.
Yeah.
On September 6th, ITT Technical Institute closed 130 campuses.
Too bad.
On October 22nd, AT&T announced that they were buying Time Warner for $85.4 billion. And just recently on December 20th, the Dow closed at an all-time record of 19,974.
Oh, so close. That round number.
Yeah. They really want it to, the business news. I guess it's a good mark or whatever, but what do you guys think about these takeovers, Verizon taking over Yahoo and AT&T buying Time Warner?
They're reaching the maximum economy of scale based on the cartels that the government hands out.
Do you think they're doomed to failure like AOL Time Warner was?
No, they'll just like agglomerate into bigger mergers and acquisitions. Like you have to remember all these companies are just, it's sort of like when you have like oil and water together and you're heating them up in a pan, like if you're cooking spaghetti or whatever, and you like stir it around and all the little oil globules break up, but eventually they just like morph back together into like one huge one in the middle. That's just what happens. Like telecom was all Ma Bell. Like it was the only company for telecommunications for how many years? And then they're like, oh yeah, that's too big. We got to break it up. But the market is sort of, the market conditions are finding the maximum size that a firm can achieve.
But I think, given with the with our corporatistic government system, it kind of engenders that those kinds of takeovers.
Right. I mean, look at railroad companies, look at the banks, and what's the ultimate solution for all those is that, all the railroad companies turn into the biggest railroad company, which is, of course, the state. And then pretty soon all the banks will just be nationalized, and all the car companies will be nationalized, and all the telephone will be nationalized, and we'll just live in fucking North Korea, and it's just going to happen,
Do you think that trend is going to continue under Trump?
Yeah, because he's already going into big government stuff.
Yeah.
If he is a law and order candidate, I'm sure he'll increase funding to law enforcement agencies. He'll increase law enforcement to ICE. So it'll just become more and more like a jail, Really.
Good times.
And on the left, it'll be more social programs, get everyone, their mandatory vaccines, and make sure everyone gets to get their medical records put in a large database that can be scanned and searched for whatever sort of things. Make sure everyone gets diagnosed as a mental health issue so that, they can always just be put in the gulag under the pretense that they are mentally unfit.
But we'll be making $15 an hour.
So. Right. So that's good. Got that going for us.
Well, I don't have any more political stuff to talk about. I was going to talk about some sports stuff next unless you have any final thoughts on politics. No? Okay. So, you guys remember Super Bowl 50? Broncos beat the Panthers 24-10. And Peyton Manning announced he was retiring. What is wrong with the Broncos and the Panthers this year? Because they're not going back to the playoffs, I don't think. They're definitely not going back to the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't know. They don't have Peyton Manning anymore, so that's the Broncos' problem, obviously.
So what's wrong with the Panthers?
Be like a flash in the pan. Every once in a while, there's one of these teams that catches fire in the.
Well, I remember looking at their record towards the end of last year, and they hadn't even beaten that many good teams.
Right.
They were all just shitty teams. They just played every shitty team in the NFL, essentially.
Well, yeah, the NFC South isn't the strongest division going, and
is that what's going on with the Cowboys this year?
No, they're actually.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think
good.
They're a good team.
I was watching them against. I forget who I was watching them against. Maybe the Giants or somebody.
Well, they got beaten by the Giants twice.
Yeah, but their drives were much more effective. They just couldn't close it out. They were getting insane pressure.
Yeah,
I don't think their offensive line's really all that good, and the Giants' pass rush is really good. So
yeah, that's a divisional game too.
Yeah, the Giants are the Cowboys number all the time
when they play. Yeah. We were talking about Denver though. I wonder what happened to the line there because they had a rush. They had a rush last year and they really just haven't gotten anything going. Rushing the ball. So their defense is still not bad, but the defense isn't what it was either. I think they're missing a couple of their defensive backs as well. So that they had, for the Super Bowl run.
I guess we're on the subject because I don't think I have any other football news. Do you guys have any predictions going into NFL playoffs for 2017? Or I guess 2016 season?
Predictions? No, I don't even. Actually, I'm not even really sure what teams are in it. Well, but I will say the Bills fired the Ryan brothers this week.
Yeah, I saw that. What happened there?
Well, they suck.
They were doing good for a while, though, didn't they?
No, they never were. And
they beat the Pats, and then they blew out the. The 49ers suck too, but you get the point.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going anywhere. You really should have kept Jim Schwartz, but I think he's got a pretty good job as defensive coordinator for a playoff team this year.
No, I think they're out too. Isn't he on Philly?
Oh, is it Philly? Yeah, I think he is.
Philly. Yeah, I think they're out.
All right, so here's what's going on. Patriots are 13-2. Dolphins are 10-5. Raiders are 12-3.
Woo!
Chiefs are 11-4. Steelers are 10-5, and the Ravens are 8-7. So the Steelers are gonna win that division.
Fuck that team.
Ugh.
Texans are
That's
9.
my team.
Texans are 9-6. Titans are 8-7. Cowboys are 13-2, or 13 and Giants, as I've seen some people say. Giants are 10-5. Seahawks are 9-5. Packers are 9-6. Lions are 9-6.
I will say, as opposed to electoral college popular vote thing, I think that it should be just the teams with the best records going to the playoffs. None of this you're the best in the division. You're the best in the NFC West. Who cares?
And the Falcons are 10-5. And Also, I should mention the Browns are 1-14.
Who'd they win against?
Are you
Some
serious?
shitty team. I think it was the 49ers or something.
1-14?
Nice.
No, they beat somebody. They beat somebody decent.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago. Let me
Yeah.
see.
I
Sweet.
forget who it was.
1-14. They're just like the one everybody beats up on, huh?
Oh, they beat the Bengals. No, Bengals beat them. They beat the Chargers
Yeah,
20
you
to
go.
20 to
Chargers is
17
a decent team.
on Christmas Eve. So
They
Christmas
were
present.
missing one of their top running backs.
It was
so.
a miracle.
I gotta shake Gianna's hand next time I see her.
I won
for the
my-
one win.
Yeah, like you
I won
fucking
my
did
fantasy.
it. Got that skunk out of the boat, man. Good for you.
I won my fantasy league for the first year. I've
Cool.
been playing for 9 years.
Wow.
So I won $600.
You should
That's
see
pretty
their,
cool.
Yeah,
garage.
yeah,
It's
we play it.
painted
It's a pretty
Browns
competitive
helmet now.
league. It's
blaze
a
orange with
family
the brown
league.
and white stripe
So
all
it feels
around
pretty
it.
good.
Pretty
I
awesome.
made it all the way through.
Browns? You're in Connecticut, though, right?
I'm sorry, we got like 2 conversations going on here. That's probably not going to work.
Sorry.
Well, let's switch to some other sports news from this year. April 14th, Kobe scored 60 points in his final NBA game. And that same day,
60 points.
the Warriors won a record 73rd game. They went 73-9. The record before that was the 1996 Chicago Bulls, who were 72-10. So nice for them for only losing
Where's Patrick when you need him?
single-digit games. June 12th, the Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup against the San Jose Sharks. Can you guys watch hockey? I'm going to get into it this year. I'm committing to it this year. Really going to follow it. June 19th, the Cavs won the NBA championship against the Golden State Warriors. That was the first Cleveland sports title since 1964. So the city had not won a championship in, was that 52 years, 52 years before that. So she must have been happy about that, I imagine, too. I'm all set, thanks.
Yeah, she was. She had a Cleveland Cavaliers like sweatsuit that she was quite fond of.
So August 12th, Alex Rodriguez played his final game for the New York Yankees, which I was kind of shocked by. I didn't think that they were going to rush him out like that. They had to get him out before the end of the season, which I thought was kind of stupid.
For the next piss test.
October 2nd, Vince Scully announced his final Dodgers game after 67 seasons calling games for the Dodgers.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is. And November 2nd, the Cubs won in the 10th inning of Game 7. They won the World Series to end a 108-year drought.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch that baseball game?
Nope.
That was the best baseball game that ever happened.
Yeah, I heard it was really good.
Game 7, extra innings, 2 teams who have the longest droughts in, I believe, sports history. I think that both of them. So that was history. All right, well, last subject of 2016 is going to be some stuff that I didn't put in any of these categories. It's miscellaneous. So
Okay.
I'm just
My
going to
favorite.
I myself am miscellaneous.
I'm just going to read these. Just say anything if you have any thoughts. January 8th, El Chapo was recaptured.
I didn't even know they were.
Yeah.
January 24th, The X-Files returned to TV after 13 years.
It's pretty good.
That was pretty
It
good.
was good.
It was a good show, right?
It was good.
Well, there were some of them I didn't like, though. Like the Lizard Man one, like whatever that was. He was like,
Mushroom Trip one?
was he like British or Australian or something? And he was like a guy that turned into like an alligator man. Did you guys see that?
I only saw the first episode.
Yeah, the first one, the last one were good.
Yeah.
Like really good. The others were okay, but that one was not good. Did you see that? No.
Yeah.
They had like an Alex Jones guy in that too, didn't they?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought all of that was really relevant, you know?
Seeding it. David Duchovny, sex addict. Coincidence? I don't think so. Eyes wide shut kind of shit, you know?
March 18th, Hulk Hogan won a $118 million settlement against Gawker for releasing his sex tape,
That's right.
which got him pretty much erased from WWE history.
I stayed out. I didn't really look into that. I had no interest in seeing a Hulk Hogan sex.
I haven't
tape.
seen it either, but
Was that with-
brother.
Was that the one that was with
yeah, brother.
Bubba the Love Sponge? His
yeah,
Yeah.
this is his wife.
wife.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But he bankrupted Gawker with that lawsuit. They went out of business.
Good. What the fuck was Gawker, anyways? What is that?
They gawk.
Fuck Gawker.
On May 6th, Sadiq Khan was elected the mayor of London, the first Muslim mayor of any Western city.
Yep.
So I don't know if that might have contributed to the Brexit vote. I don't know if you had sort of a
Yeah,
reactionary.
there's a really strong the the most base of the Trump supporters, is, you know, the kind of white racist sort of dudes. Like, there's a real there's a real similar movement in England now of like the uneducated white base. It's just sort of like, fuck the Muslims, they're coming in here, they're taking our jobs, they're gonna fuck them up, mate.
I'm a fucking tank.
I'm a fucking tank. I don't know. I seen there's like a white nationalist sort of party in England too.
Britain first.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that's the key behind why Brexit happened?
Because
or
no, I just think that it's just a general malaise. Like,
do you think it was just exclusively that? I mean, because
That was part
I
of
was, but for me, I was
No, but-
against Brexit out of principle. Like, well, government should be smaller, so the British government is
You were
better
for it.
than the European. Yeah, sorry.
Well, and the British are the premier victims of globalization. You know, they invented globalization, and look where it's gotten them. You know, they as a people, they're just the financiers are doing fine. You know, but the average working class guy,
everybody's on the dole.
they have this thing. Yeah, they have this thing called the zero-hour contract, where you like work for a place. When they decide, they call you, be like, "Oh, can you be down here tomorrow?" And so you can't like go on vacation or anything, or like really do anything. You're constantly like, it's almost like pager duty.
Yeah.
But some weeks, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they won't give you any work. Like my brother-in-law's parents, they live in England. They were telling us I was like, 0 work contract. I never heard of that. They're like, oh, you don't have those here? I was like, yeah, I bet we will in fucking 10 years.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
can see that happen.
Oh yeah, we'll call you.
And people will go for it.
Go to
They're
your
like,
Department of
I can work
Labor
whenever I want.
website, and you can sign up, and we'll take care of you. It'll only be a $6 billion website. And
If we ever get there, man, we lost. We lost the fight.
Yeah.
well, I'd hate to lie, but I'm not optimistic at all.
I saw this report on like the food banks they have there. Just how many people like go to the food bank. It's just like fucking lines. They have like lines down the blocks, or like people going there for food.
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
the same way here, right?
Yeah. I don't
Must
know.
be some.
It's getting there.
You don't see it, because it's a streamlined system. You go down to DSS, you wait, they give you a card, then you go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the store. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's like you have to wait
it's
in
the
line.
corporatistic version of
There's no
that.
special line. You can just go to the cashier and
And they're way closer to like the
Like that shit.
equatorial world too. So
Well, guys, let's talk about
it's
something
like
else.
the people fountain.
Let's talk about really more serious topic. May 28th, Harambe,
dude.
murdered in cold blood.
I don't understand. Like, I still don't understand. Like, why do they have to kill the gorilla? Like, he didn't hurt the kid. He kind of dragged him around a little roughly, but
He's a gorilla.
he's a fucking
How
gorilla.
you know how
and
strong that thing is?
he totally.
I'm sure he's being as ginger as he
could
could.
have ripped that kid limb from limb and fucking just, ate him.
But wasn't it a good precautionary thing just to make sure that
The kid fucking fell in. You could see that gorilla. How is that gorilla going to climb in that 30-foot concrete trench?
Robert is strong, pro Harambe.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. It's like, why are you going to shoot him?
That's what happens when you keep monkeys in cages, man. Just
Right.
fucking. They should be in the jungle.
My thought is that if they hadn't shot him though, and then like the video was actually of a monkey ripping a kid apart, in a zoo.
Yep.
The PR would have been worse than shooting the gorilla.
Got to hedge your bet and just shoot the damn thing.
Yeah.
is that why they shot him with a gun rather than a
Yeah,
tranquilizer?
but did they shoot him after they rescued the kid, or did they shoot him to rescue the kid?
They
shot
shot him
him to-
before
Yeah.
rescuing the kid.
They shot him
I don't
to
think they
rescue
tried
the kid.
without
I
shooting
only
him.
saw
It
the
was like a gorilla hostage situation.
It was real quick too, though. Like I think, I don't think that they took much chance that the thing was going to rip him.
At the end of the day, it was just a gorilla. Like, in all fairness, it was just a gorilla.
But
Yeah, I
there's so
know.
few left.
I know.
That's why it matters. If there was 3 million gorillas, nobody would care.
yeah.
But why do you think this became such a big meme?
Because it's
in the news story?
ridiculous, and it's a
Think so?
kid getting dragged by a gorilla, and people are fucking, idiots, and they love to drool over this guy. It's stupid, and it's funny because it's a kid and he's powerless, and the gorilla's very strong, and he could easily bludgeon that kid to death, and people are on the edge of their seat waiting to see, the gorilla smash that fucking kid into the wall. And
Actually, my Facebook feed was very bereft of Harambe memes, but there was only one, and since there was the only one, I had no reference, so I didn't get it.
the meme.
And it was like a gorilla crucified,
Yeah,
and it said
yeah,
he died for our memes. And I'm like,
the memes are
gorilla
better than
died
the
for
video
the
itself.
memes?
Like the video is popular, but the shit like people have made over just a gorilla getting shot.
And that's actually
is
what I
funnier.
find interesting, because I think that's cool that people recognize what a ridiculous story it is, because a year prior we had Cecil the Lion, and that was taken very seriously,
Yeah.
and Jimmy Kimmel was interrupting his comedy show to make like a serious point about it. And
There's
here we have
plenty
the opposite
of
of that, of people, that were serious about Harambe, but then the internet turned it into this big joke. So
it's just the teddy bear culture that like late capitalism breeds. Like we killed all the wilderness, so they're not a threat now. They're just like cute things that we have to like preserve.
Right, and those are some of your alt-writers there too that just really like to push people's buttons.
Yeah. But again, I think that's a good thing. Like, it's almost like a rebellion against the media. Like, oh, we're supposed to, this is what we're supposed to care about, is a stupid gorilla thing. So then it becomes like a satirical thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's just the troll land that is 4chan
Yeah.
too. I mean, these
Harambe
people.
got fucking votes, countable votes
Yeah.
in the election.
These are like the way more depraved than Bruce.
Yeah, serious betas that like exist within a electronic shell. Like they have,
Well, that's a
Dildo
good,
Schwaggins and
that's a
Yeah,
that's a
Dildo
good
Schwaggins.
segue, Rob. Let's talk about that. July 6th, Pokemon Go was released. By August 1st, it had reached 100 million downloads. That was a huge thing for those however many 3-4 weeks that was.
Fun in the summer, kids got nothing better to do. Should be
It
in
was-
kid jail.
It could have been. It was a campaign of conquest that was worthy of Caesar. You know what I mean? Like it was just fucking perfect. Like the
Viral.
Shit dropped, and everybody was just like, "I'm doing this." Like there's so many people out there of our
I
of
gotta-
our age
I gotta catch 'em
span
all. I gotta
that were
catch 'em
like,
all.
I loved Pokemon, or they had like a fucking weird guilty pleasure over it. Like. And they just got into it. It was a fun thing. I downloaded it for my phone, and I'd go out on walks and hikes and shit. And I didn't always keep it on because it's like a total fucking data hog.
So how long were you into it for before it
Oh,
got
not
off?
very long at all. I got to like level 5. I joined a gym, and then I just
I hope you didn't go to the campsite with it on.
Didn't-
NSA knows now.
No, never. And I just didn't play it again. Like I barely got into it. I would the most Pokemon I ever caught was from my living room, like sitting in my living room. Like sometimes the phone would buzz because when you're on Wi-Fi and you're charging it, like you can leave it on, so the phone would buzz or whatever, and there'd be some fucking Pokemon in my living room. And I'm like, oh, one came to me.
More oddish, damn it.
Yeah. It was always like a Zubat or a
Boo.
Rat-a-tat.
Boo.
But one time
Pidgey,
or a
yeah.
Pidgey or a Weedle. It's like those 4. It's ridiculous. It's always like the same fucking 4.
The house sparrows and mice of the Pokemon
Yeah.
world. Like, god damn it.
One time I caught a
Give up my
Rhyhorn,
house.
and that was probably the best one. I don't know shit about Pokemon. I really don't.
I'm just wondering how long you were into it for, because it seemed like the rest of the country was into it for
People were losing weight.
about a month, and then that was it.
There were fights happening in parks. I saw a video
Did
where
you see
like
that mob crossing the street in New York?
yeah, everybody was going to get the fucking Blastoise in Central Park, and it was like 1,000 people showed up to try to catch a fucking Pokemon.
It was an
That's
Articuno.
crazy.
Okay.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I saw one where like some kids set up like an easy up in a park, so they could just like put up their chairs and lounge around and just kind of like catch Pokemon around the park all day.
Hey, we're
And it
eating
was like-
snackables and playing
it was a
Pokemon Go.
It was a veterans park, and some guys showed up. They were like all
Lunchables.
pissed off, like you're setting up your fucking tent in our veterans park, and like, a big scuffle ensued, and like one guy like ripped the tent down, and it's hilarious. It's all on Lively World Star. Yeah,
Well,
fads.
It's crazy.
a couple other
Month.
last things that we should remember 2016
rocks.
for.
Air.
July 21st, Roger Ailes resigned as the CEO of Fox News after sexual harassment allegations. So that's good, right? Fox News kind of sucked, especially during the Bush years.
Yep. Yeah, and Ailes was all about that. He kind of invented the Fox News like memo that they all read and had to use the terms.
Oh, really?
Remember? Yeah.
Like for the lead up to the
Cut
war in
and
Iraq
run,
all that.
embolden the enemy. Remember Hannity just like drilling those two home like circa 2006.
Islamo-fascist? Remember that one?
Yes. Islam and Lama Ding Dong.
Is it also why we couldn't say French fries? We had to say freedom fries for a while?
Fries.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Sean Hannity is a rare animal. Like
That, guy,
he's-
that comes from that guy?
Let me
I
tell
was
you,
asking,
Ruth's
I don't
Chris
know.
Steakhouse.
He was
It's the
really
best
the
for me,
best.
Sean Hannity.
those shows are really the best.
Ugh,
Those
yeah.
are great times. It was great time. It was great times to be alive.
But do you think that's coming back now? Because now we're going to have a Republican president again. So, like, that's
No.
my only real
No.
He's not
memorable
he's not
frame of
with them.
reference.
He's not with him. He just goes to Twitter.
That's true.
Their jig is
Because,
up.
like, Lindsey Graham is their guy.
Donald Trump's
Yeah, nobody
Republicans
likes him.
don't have a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like Sean Hannity Republicans are like the guys who play golf and have big asses. And
But wouldn't it be
oil executives?
But wouldn't it be smart for Fox News as a
Shooter McGavin.
as a business to latch onto the Trump base and stick with them?
They could try, but it's like you're
yeah, they're not
like
gonna
an
be
old lady
trusted.
trying to dagger or something. It's just not going to work.
They're not going to be trusted. And those kind of people, they're not going to. They don't have the spit and polish of the media. They're not going to buy it. They just
They
don't. They already don't buy it.
understand. Like the Mad Men people of the '60s, they wanted to be like sophisticated. So they read magazines of import publications or whatever. But those days are over. Like it's the anti-intellectualism that they fostered is like ultimately now bringing them down, I think.
Yeah, but can't they just pivot from being the kind of Bush, Lindsey Graham, John McCain Republicans that they have been to being this alt-right news source now?
I don't know. Can they? Do you believe like Tucker Carlson and Glenn Beck actually like care about the shit they talk about, or
Glenn Beck,
they?
actually, they fired him.
Yeah, they've just been on the air too long for it to like make any sense anymore because they're starting to contradict themselves.
Well, like
Shit.
Bill O'Reilly, I guess would be a good example of that. Yeah.
I don't know. Who likes Bill O'Reilly? The median age of a Bill O'Reilly watcher's got to be like 63.
He's getting up there.
Yeah, they're probably going to start dying off soon.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, whatever. Dinosaurs
He's going to die in the studio.
doing the karate chop move that he does. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and then just fucking keel over.
Yeah, really though, like it's very similar on the other side
Massive
though,
Irish
too.
head
Like
will
MSNBC, I don't think that a lot of people there are really questioning, what they're hearing either.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're out of power now, so like they don't have to.
The SJWs,
defend
they're a
anything.
whole nother, because they're emotion driven.
Yeah.
So if you can make it something sad enough or not fair enough, they'll fucking go for it, no matter how ridiculous it is. They're saying people were fucking crying reading Mao's Red Book,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Untold millions died. Yeah, but it's not fair. Fucking retarded.
Yep.
Well, let's bring up one last point. This year, there were several months that were the hottest month on record: August, July, February. I believe there was others. Do you guys have any thoughts that you might want to share on global warming? Do you think global warming is real? Is it a Chinese hoax?
I was actually thinking about this today, and I think it doesn't matter because ocean acidification is real. So the more CO2 there is in the atmosphere, the more acidic the oceans get. That's not a controversy. The levels change linearly based on the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. When that happens, the fucking coral reefs die, the diatoms die, the whole food web collapses in the oceans, and that's when you get the mass extinctions. So it's less important and less certain. So we should be concentrating on that instead.
Interesting. You guys have any thoughts on environmentalism and global warming?
I had never heard that take on it. I tend to look at things, completely through the voluntarist lens. Try to, anyways, and I don't think that everybody is going to need to do something on their individual level for it to happen. I wouldn't be for government mandating consumption or anything like that, because I think like that's how society survives, and hampering that with government,
Well, never mind that, but they're fostering the shit that's, the noose that we're hanging ourselves.
Right. Yeah,
Why,
exactly.
Why are the oil companies exist the way they do? Why are they in all these countries in the Middle East and have carte blanche to operate with basically impunity as like a sovereign? They're not even beholden to the United States. They do whatever they want to do, and they work with the United States, and they, I think, probably manipulate the United States a lot. But what allows that to occur? Do I think there'd be an oil industry like there is today if there wasn't a fucking legitimized gun behind it? No, I don't at all. Look what's happening in Nigeria. They can barely keep a lid on that shit. And Nigeria's been the victim of 400 years of oppression from the fucking slave trade, which is government financed, to colonialism.
Yeah, it's really that's where the level of government when it gets to that point, that it can be controlled by big industry to have that legitimacy.
They're almost one and the same. One guy becomes Secretary of Energy. He was the CEO of Exxon. I mean, look at the Trump appointment, Rex Tillerson.
Yeah. Which is very odd. I mean,
well, he's buddies with Russia. He wants to do business. Perfect for Trump.
Yeah.
Friendly businessman.
Maybe it was all just a right-wing coup by him and Russia.
Well, honestly,
get Trump elected.
I don't like the option, but it's better than like nuclear war precipitated on enforcing a no-fly zone or whatever sort of millennialistic nut job pro-Israel shit that the neocons can come up with,
Well, what do you think about this recent Israel thing with the Obama administration being the one who refused to block this? I mean, because they're...
Well, is it any surprise he's a Muslim?
But if they are all neocons and all on the same page, then why did they let this happen? And if the global consensus is sort of, that Israel should stop doing these things, then...
Maybe Obama's going rogue. He doesn't have much time left. And he had a lot of, grand ideas to begin with. Or it's to further the Hegelian dialectic, maybe. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis.
Yeah.
Towards the new world order.
Well, I don't know. I didn't have any more notes on 2016. You know what? I think we should all try to make some predictions. I didn't ask you guys to come up with any beforehand.
Oh, man, we're approaching ultimate novelty. That's going to be tough.
So this is... Well, okay. Jack, you predicted that Trump was going to become president, which a lot of media pundits weren't expecting or saying publicly.
Because they're cloistered in their weird vacuums of self-affiliation.
And a lot of weird things that happened this year, like we said, we opened relations with Cuba, and there's some other stuff we didn't talk about, too, about, Brazil impeaching their president.
Hey, you saw that New Yorker where Muslim Obama was fist-bumping revolutionary Michelle, right? Remember they got in trouble for that, right when he got elected?
Yeah.
So there you go. Opening relations with Cuba, supporting Palestine.
But anyway, what are your predictions for 2017? If you had to make one general prediction or specific even.
I think it's going to keep getting weirder. We're going to go out to La La Land of, I'm serious. I don't know. It's just going to get weirder and weirder. I think, something strange is going to happen with the market. There's this weird sort of boost that Trump has given it for no good reason. I think it's way overheated. But,
And the Fed just raised rates too, by the way.
And nobody seemed to notice. I thought that was going to, it was last time, just a catastrophic drop in January. And it actually lost 100 points today. So we may be going on to our New Year's slide, maybe a big slide, once people kind of get over the holidays.
So you think that the market is going to go down this year?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I've been predicting it for years and years and years and years now. So it's got to happen sooner or later. I just can't tell you when. If it were to happen this year, I wouldn't be surprised. Just recently, China became the second largest holder of U.S. debt. So they've been quietly shedding it since the yuan got accepted in the special drawing rights. So I think there's going to be some shenanigans with, the new Silk Road, a lot of sort of Eurasian consolidation against Oceania,
Fair enough. Rob, do you have any predictions for 2017? Anything in the world that could happen? Just something that likely that you think is a trend that's been building for a while, maybe?
I think you're gonna continue to see people filming police, and I think you're going to continue to see more protests against police. I don't know. It just seems like it doesn't stop. Like, the more this stuff happens, you'd think that people will be more conscious of, not antagonizing this kind of shit. But I mean, or just, I don't know, just in general, like, I think people are just getting wilder. I mean, what happened at the Buckland Mall this past?
Yeah.
This
Well,
past
malls all over the
Christmas?
Yeah, it
country.
wasn't just there; it was all over.
It's
malls all
crazy.
over the country.
Like, is that some
Okay,
kind of
gotcha.
flash mob?
Yeah, it's like a
fucking-
flash mob fight where they settle a beef.
I actually think it was some kind of play on Boxing Day, and like people were meeting at the malls to box or something. Because it was like
yeah,
teens
you are
all,
right. It is
all over
Boxing
the country
Day.
doing it.
It's just a bunch of idiots thinking Boxing Day means let's go box in the mall.
Well, they said it was spread on social media. I don't know what platform or anything, but that's just what I'm assuming.
I just
would
think
have
you're
been
gonna
the-
see, like Jack
Sources are
said,
reporting.
it's just more craziness. I shouldn't have led with the police violence thing. It's just, I think you're just gonna see more craziness. Just more craziness. This world's going to hell in a handbasket, man.
Yeah.
Really.
hate
But
to
we
break
could
it to you.
Go
we-
camping. Fucking go camping. Learn how to make a fucking fire for yourself. Boil water so you can survive. Like, learn this shit. Like, that's what I want to.
get the fuck
That's what
out
I
of the
want to do.
megalopolis.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm 30, and I need to fucking make something of my life. And I so happen to have such a boner for this shit. Like, I might as well make it fucking work for me and try to make some money, or at least get some purpose going with it. Because it's one thing to just kind of like do it as a hobby and work a labor job and shit, or just try to fucking go for it. And I'm gonna fucking go for it. That's my prediction for this year. Is I'm gonna fucking go for it.
Good for you.
I also
And I think everybody else should.
predict more languishing and this sort of halfway between being what you were and like becoming what you're supposed to be or what you should be. And just kind of the tension between that, just like making you really sad.
Nick?
Right on the money.
I'm with him. I think there's going to be more civil unrest throughout the United States. I think
Not my president.
there's a growing there's a growing divide. There's a gap. There's a gap in America, and
Yeah, we got to
it's
get
just crazy.
who on here to fucking give the other side's take on things.
Josh? Oh. I don't
The
know.
little dozer.
Bigger than the ass blaster.
I could see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I still don't think Trump is safe.
Yeah.
I could see him getting.
That's why he has his private
assassinated.
security force. Fake news is telling me he hired like a mercenaries to watch him instead of the Secret
man.
Service.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
his
could see
wife
that
is
happening.
staying in Trump Tower.
Yeah.
As opposed to going
Imagine
to
if that
the White
happened or
House.
something. Like he had like a private security force that tries to stop the assassination attempt. Shit, that's like a good.
Just like open fire
like-
between the Secret Service and
Right,
the fucking
right, in the
mercenaries
streets- in the streets at a
on
parade or something,
Steps
you know,
of the
like-
Capitol.
Fucking
Yeah.
shit stopple.
Yeah, they're at like a parade of him like getting to Dallas. It happens like in Dallas.
Maybe that's the excuse to precipitate martial law in this
God, that'll
country.
be
You know,
amazing. Like, I'm sorry.
That
I don't want
sounds
to
like
sound like a crazy person.
like a line like a plot line from a movie.
It sounds like a
That
Tom
could make a lot of
Clancy
money.
book or
Yeah.
something. You
Yeah.
know.
well, yeah, fiction has a funny way of predicting the future.
I predict. I just want, like, I really I don't want to sound weird. I really want something crazy like that to happen. I just think it's ready. I think something crazy is gonna happen.
I could see it.
Crazy.
I could
shit's
see
gonna
it build into that. I don't know.
Helter Skelter.
It's Donald fucking Trump. It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who we all know and love from The Apprentice,
yeah.
and just being a fucking asshat.
We were
and
there
just
on the
being
election
Donald
day.
Trump.
It was just so like exciting
What the
because
fuck?
they're just like, "What? He's gonna win!"
And
Oh
all
my
these
god!
people, all these we were like at the on the pulse of the Democratic Party.
Oh man!
all
As it
those
just
people,
faded.
the looks of despair and just like the,
Yeah, they just
the
disappeared.
sighs and
the whole
moans.
crowd just like faded away.
The party died. The party fucking died to a wall of red screens, like red
Orange
states.
man
Yeah.
waving.
Donald Trump wins. Ha 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 ha. like everybody just moaning and whinging.
It's going to be interesting to see the left become
stupid.
reinvigorated and be protesting again. You know, they're planning protests against him on
I'm not going to
Inauguration
protest
Day.
Donald Trump. All right, I don't mind that he won. I think
It's
he's
better than Clinton.
I want people to protest Donald Trump,
Dude.
but I don't feel like protesting Donald Trump because
let's talk about
I
the
want everyone
purple
else to
coup.
go crazy. For
Oh
once.
yeah.
Let's talk about the purple coup. I get, like seeing you posted about that, man. That is it's so ripe for that to happen.
The
too.
two
Like, that
parties
whole-
together to
that
finally
whole-
fight the alt-right.
But they didn't. I mean, the Electoral College, nothing happened, and that whole recount thing, nothing happened. So
But I think that it's going on behind the scenes, and that the Trump faction, he's out getting them again. Like
Yeah.
he's doing it.
That's so crazy, man.
I think really the reason why it never took off, or that the conscientious electors, it's like, it sounds ridiculous, but there's a show that Megan watches called Scandal. And it's about Olivia Pope, and she's like a Washington, D.C. fixer, and like all of the weird shit that goes on behind the scenes. And then they show like news stories from like the fictional narrative, but it's just like, every once in a while
parallel.
it'll pop up and sort of say a generality about something. But like the amount of shit that's going on underneath and behind the scenes is just staggering. And like in fiction, we treat it as just like a matter of course, right? Of course, James Bond just wanders around the globe and kills people with a license to kill that are terrorists that you don't even hear about and yada, yada, yada. But like, and not to sound dramatic, but that kind of shit like sort of happens all the time. And I think there's a lot of like stuff happening behind the scenes that we just like are not becoming privy to. I mean, take the email leaks, for instance. That just like scratched the surface.
right,
That's how many thousands of emails? A few tens of thousands?
20,000.
Okay, total. How many were sent from like the State Department, from the fucking fixers in Washington, from the lobbyists on K Street,
Yeah.
from yada yada.
Well, again, that's after she deleted her emails. Those were DNC emails. She deleted 30,000 of her own.
right. So who knows what those fucking things
Yeah.
had in them, or the cables and so forth. It's the deep state is deep. It's
Right.
deep and dark.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
it's
And
there.
there's a lot of it going on. Like, have you ever heard Sybil Edmonds? Sure, her name is. She was a translator after 9/11 for the FBI, and she sort of uncovered some shadiness.
Yeah.
And she was from like Turkey, so she kind of knew about like the deep state there
Yeah.
as well. She came over here and was knew Farsi and I think she was like 4 or 5 languages from that area
Yeah.
of the world. So she was like a perfect like FBI translator. She she like sort of like recognized and outed Turkish agents within the FBI.
Okay.
And was let go and was she had a gag order on her on everything about her. Basically, she couldn't speak about herself,
yeah.
without
Well,
being
it's a
in
matter of
violation
national
or
security,
whatever.
you know?
Yeah. She
Violation
has a
of
book
federal
called
law.
Classified Woman. I read it. It's interesting. But she says like she gets really into like the Gladio B operation, which
Yeah.
was like the
Oh,
stay behinds
man.
from like
Gladio.
what was that was that after World War II?
Yeah, the
It's-
Italian state basically just like ruined it through like this left and right opposition that they were creating.
Yeah. So, she talks about that, and she talks about this this thing called the Sister Look incident or whatever, where this guy got caught with like several IDs or whatever. He was like one of these deep agents that had like who was basically a James Bond type of character.
Smoking man from X-Files, just a fucking spook, doesn't even know his real name.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, that stuff is definitely going on all the time, and it does kind of pop up here and there.
So what you see is on the sort of mainstream media is just like a thin veneer that's just so distorted and like doesn't show you what's actually happening. That's why I like the internet as far as like the genie coming out of the bottle for all this counter propaganda, because you get to see what Iran and China and Russia is saying, and then what England is saying, what France is saying, and then somewhere in the middle, what the U.S. is saying, there's like the truth. So it's a little of this and a little of that and a little of that, and then you can kind of get a general idea of what's happening.
The point is, guys,
All right.
we reviewed the legacy of 2016.
It was
and
awesome.
We made our predictions. So I appreciate you guys joining me, and I hope that you all celebrate New Year's Eve. Do you have any plans? Going anywhere?
Not as of yet. I have to talk to my wife, but we might be going up to Boston to go to Cheers.
Maybe you should.
Yeah,
Maybe you
be
should.
fun. It was
You
a good
guys-
time last year.
Shane, I think, is having a party at his house, so I might go to that.
Yeah.
Because they throw a good rager.
Any plans, Nick?
I'm staying home.
Nice.
The wife and kids playing board games.
Hugging and praying.
Well, in any case, I appreciate you guys joining me, and I hope that 2017 is a great year for all of us. So, thanks again, and folks, keep listening to
Here's the
2017.
Skynet. Oh, I did want to mention too. What about Alexa fucking being used as court evidence now for murder? Did you
What?
hear about
Maybe
that shit?
Alexa should run everything.
Well, yeah, but now it's going to be just like audio recordings. Like everyone will have a
What's
spy
Alexa?
in their house.
I've-
The smart Amazon shit or the Google thing.
I thought I saw that they that Amazon said no, that they wouldn't release that stuff.
I think they might get a court order though to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think they took a stance against it, unless there's a legal reason for them to do it. I guess.
But
That's-
then they just invent a legal reason and
Yeah.
That's what you get
sets
when
the
you put
precedent.
that.
And now fucking is listening in on anything.
That's what
Yeah.
you get when you put that weird shit in your house. You want to make everything smart. It's gonna be
It's like Gremlins.
It's
Well, like Xbox.
Don't buy the Mogwai.
Xbox fucking the bar there.
bling.
Xbox
You might
One
just
or
turn it
whatever.
on. Be careful.
That thing creeps me out.
Xbox
It just sees
Connect.
you. Yeah, it's the Connect. Yeah. But I mean, we all got the phones. Those are cameras
read
and
your-
microphones all the time.
Oh
so-
yeah, it's a weird thing. Like when you so say if your camera's open, like the app is open on your phone, but you've gone to something else like Chrome or your email or something, and then if you pull up the menu, like the Blade menu where you can like pick the app, if you look at the picture, it's a current picture from whenever you just opened the app wheel. Like it's always taking a picture of you, like.
Right.
Like, ugh. It's always going to have a current picture on there.
So there's really like no escape. You know, I talk about going to Maine because I like the idea, but I don't think it'll really make much of a difference, honestly.
Mm-mm.
Well,
I get you.
again, it's what kinds of technology you consume and buy and participate in. Right?
Well, a lot of it's mandatory, honestly, under penalty of death.
Like
You can't
What are
buy
you
or
talking
sell.
about?
Taxes or even like property rights. You know, you can't just like be somewhere
Yeah.
as a human being occupying a physical space unless it's you're within the proper imaginary lines. It's weird and
True.
unnatural.
Well, anywho, I do appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I hope that everybody listening continues listening to Primo Nutmeg in 2017. Follow us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Have you guys all done that? You guys?
Yeah, I
subscribe?
followed you today. I finally
You know, we do this for free. Big Steve and I do this for free. So we need likes, we need followers, we need retweets and comments.
And pretty soon you'll be hypothetical millionaires.
All right, guys, thanks again, and I hope that you do have a happy new year.
Happy New Year.
See you guys.
1 in 4 episodes.